right, welcome to the Select Board meeting of Tuesday, October 7th, 2025. Before we begin, let's just do a roll call. I don't see David on there, so we'll come back to that. I'll run through the agenda and see if David joins online. But we're going to start with community input, then appointments and resignations. 7:15, we're going to begin discussion of the special town meeting article recommendations to include articles to include in the warrant, with the note that the Banta Davis CPA article is not being brought forward because the funds are no longer needed. So congratulations on that.
That's great.
8:45, we're scheduled to finalize and sign the special town meeting and special election warrants. Then we're going to discuss and set the 2026 annual town meeting date, because if you're not getting enough town meeting, we'll start talking about the next one. We're going to discuss the draft residency policy that Christina's provided at 9 o'clock, followed by the TA report, warrant and minutes approvals, liaison reports, cemetery deeds, and lastly, community input. So with that, why don't we begin with the roll call. So again, we're expecting David Modell to join online. So let's do a roll call of the people in attendance here.
Arnold here.
Snell here.
Stevens here.
Triola here. And David, if you're out there, he's not out there. Okay, so David is yet to join, but we will announce him when he arrives. So with that, let's open it up to community input, and we'll begin with attendees in the room. Does anyone here have any input? I think you'll all have input a little bit later, but seeing none, we'll look to online. Does anyone online have any community input? If so, you can raise your hand. Okay, seeing none, let's move on to appointments and resignations. So in terms of appointments, I believe we just have the one appointment in front of us tonight.
Correct.
Okay, and that is the recommendation to appoint Sylvia Willard, I'm not sure I recognize that name, as a member of the Conservation Commission with a term to end June 30th, 2028. I see Sylvia is online. Welcome. Is anyone from Conscom here that can speak to the recommendation? None? I don't know. Barney, did you have any thoughts or comments?
Well, only as the
Hi, Sylvia.
liaison to the Conservation Commission, I know they were very supportive of having Sylvia join the Conservation Commission with her wealth of knowledge and understanding of conservation lands in Carlisle, and they provided a letter of recommendation that we've received in our packet.
One comment I'd like to make, just given this is a bit of an unusual appointment in that, as everyone knows, Sylvia was the conservation administrator for so many years and is now looking to be appointed to the Conservation Commission, which the conservation administrator reports to. I think initially there were some questions about ethics that we vetted that did not apply in this case. But I did want to point out, separating people from roles is that, it is an interesting challenge at times when you change roles from one to another. So Sylvia, I don't know if you have any thoughts or comments in terms of your approach to the role as being a member of the Conservation Commission and as it relates to working with the new conservation administrator.
Well, first of all, I wanted to say that I believe that Megan Sullivan is doing a superb job. And I was very happy to be on the committee that sought her out. And I have, for the past few months, been available to her when she's needed, when she's had questions that she thought I might be able to answer. She is the administrator. The role of the administrator is different than the Conservation Commission members. And why am I twice on my screen? At any rate, I look forward to being able to continue providing assistance to her and to the commission to the best of my ability. I feel like I still have knowledge to help out wherever I can for conservation in Carlisle.
Sylvia, I have a question for you. What are your thoughts about the challenges that you might face being a member as opposed to being the administrator?
Well, it's an interesting question because one of the biggest jobs, believe it or not, I felt all along that was different between being the conservation administrator and a member of the commission is the conservation commission. The conservation administrator does a lot of the legwork, background work, research for the various projects. The commission members vote. And I think sometimes the vote is one of the hardest parts. It's, you go down in history with a vote. So, but that said, it's, I've been there before. I was on the commission for a good 4 months back in 1999 and early 2000s. And as you know, I took 25 years off and I'll be back.
Sylvia, I mean, no one can deny you've got a wealth of knowledge here, and I really appreciate the legacy knowledge that you're going to bring to this position. What are the biggest challenges in front of CONSCOM right now, and what will you do to address them?
Well, first of all, I'm not the only one that can address them. It's a board. There's 7 members, and it has to be addressed all together. I think one of the first things would be to navigate a revision to the bylaw, wetlands bylaw, which has been a goal since I was originally on the Conservation Commission back in the late 1990s. The one we have now is essentially the one that was functioning in around during the Tall Pines development back in the early 1990s, very early. And so we need to try to provide the town with the best that we can get. We almost did it once before, and it's time to try again. Another thing is we have a lot of issues right now with land management. We have the subcommittee of the land stewardship, and over the years since they were put together back in around 2005 or 6, they've done a really nice job of documenting some of our lands, et cetera. But I think right now they're being challenged with some more some tasks that involve sort of legal documents and signed documents, and I think at times things might be getting lost in the shuffle. And I think it's an awfully large committee as well, and it's very hard to come to a consensus when you've got 10, 11, 12 people on a committee. So I've been attending a lot of land stewardship meetings over the years and anticipate continuing to do that so I can keep an eye on what they're doing and maybe be of some assistance, I hope.
Great.
I'm just going to interrupt.
I'm also...
Sorry, Sylvia, I'm just going to interrupt and acknowledge David. I believe you've joined the meeting. Is that correct? Sorry.
He is here.
Okay.
He's
David,
muted.
when you have a moment, could you just announce yourself? And we're currently talking with Sylvia regarding the conservation commission appointment.
I am joining the meeting.
Okay, thank you, David. Apologies, Sylvia.
Okay. I've also was the first town committee I was ever on was the Conservation Restriction Advisory Committee. And although I wasn't the CONSCOM's representative to that when I was the administrator, I still continued to go, and it's I really enjoy working with that group, and the work that they do to help protect a lot of the private lands, and also enjoy the work that the private citizens do to help protect some of their land, and thinking in terms of the town and how important it is to the town to have protected lands that aren't necessarily all ones that the town has to take care of or buy. Did I make myself clear there?
Yes. Great. Thank you, Sylvia.
David, did you have any questions for Sylvia?
He's muted.
Do you want me to move the motion?
If you choose.
I just have one other thing that I might want to add, is that in most cases in towns, the conservation administrator lives in other towns, and when they move on to their job in another town. And in my case, I live here, and it's very hard for me to just not do anything in conservation anymore. So I just felt like I had a lot of knowledge, and I wanted to continue to help give to the town.
Great.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia.
I move then to appoint Sylvia Willard, 34 Bellows Hill Road, as a member of the Conservation Commission with a term to end June 30th, 2028.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion or deliberation? Seeing none, let's do a roll call vote.
Arnold, aye.
Modell, aye.
Snell, aye.
Stevens, aye.
Triola, aye. Welcome back, Sylvia.
Yes, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
And thank you.
And thank you for attending tonight and answering our questions. We appreciate that. Okay, let's move along. We have an hour and a half of our agenda focused on topics, each of which could probably consume 3 hours, as evidenced by the hearing last night for the planning board. But what we're going to focus on tonight is one, to get an update and additional information for each of the articles being proposed for a special town meeting, beginning with the fire station design article and the cost estimate. Following the update and some deliberation, the first order of business will be for us to formally recommend an article for inclusion in the warrant. So by recommend in the agenda, the first priority is recommend for inclusion in the warrant. And then as time allows for each articles, we can also discuss and deliberate the article to see if we're in a position to take a position on the article that might be printed in the warrant. But that's not the primary goal. The main goal is to vote on the recommendation, and then as time allows, we can deliberate. And if we can't take a position, either because we're still deliberating or the bylaws are in process or there's open questions, we'll take that up at the next meeting. And the plan will be to, again, roughly allocate 30 minutes to each of the 3 articles, recognizing the Banta Davis article will not be brought forward. I'll keep an eye on the clock, and around 25 minutes, we'll check in and see if we haven't already recommended for inclusion and we're deliberating, we'll check in and see if we think we're close to taking a position or not, at which point we'll probably move on to the next one. So I will time box these discussions to keep us on track. So let's begin with the fire station design article. And Matt Salad from Tecton is here tonight to present the cost estimate. And for those who've been following this project, the select board supported a conceptual design that was discussed, refined and discussed over the summer on our meeting on the 9th, I believe it was. We kind of gave the not official approval, but the consent to continue to move forward. And in that time, Tecton has been working on the cost estimate based on the conceptual design. And that was provided to us late last week, is in the packet, and Matt will be presenting the information that's included in the packet. So present, we'll have some Q&A and discussion, and go from there.
Excellent. Good evening, everybody.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Since we last met, last time we had met, we talked about the scope, the project, the design parameters, what the floor plan consisted of in sort of the architectural aesthetic that we were looking for. Since then, we worked with our independent cost estimator who did a conceptual design cost estimate based on that. The total cost estimate package is over 43 pages. It's hundreds and hundreds of lines of specific details in there. And I do want to point out that certainly, the beginning of a project starts out with this conceptual design of understanding the basic parameters, but there's a lot of detail to fill in the blanks as we move on. And our estimator at this stage, they fill in a lot of the blanks within their estimate, so there's a lot of assumptions that are carried. So this is a first step in a refinement process from here to establish the base parameters. From here, we'll continue refining as we develop the project, using this sort of as our starting point. So getting right into the project budget and where we landed. Just want to give you just a quick understanding of sort of what comprises a construction project. It's a large investment by the town, and I want to make sure that you guys understand sort of what you're getting with this package. And so a construction budget is essentially formulated into 3 buckets of costs. The first one being the hard costs, the second, soft costs, and the third are your contingencies. Go to the next slide. So what are the hard costs? These essentially are what constitute the building itself, what it takes to build the building, the physical construction. So this involves construction costs, site work development, design escalation, general conditions, the general requirements. Those are the basic requirements that the general contractor needs to adhere to: trailers, temporary heat, things like that, site logistics, fencing. General contractor is going to have to bond their finances as well, so there's bonding fees. They have insurance requirements that are needed to be captured. They've got their fee, which is profit and overhead, and then certainly contingency within that. So those are all sort of the constituent components that formulate the construction cost of the building itself. All of those things added together, that equals the number that you want to see on the bid day, right? So that's what it takes to build the building. Our soft costs, if you go to the next slide, thank you. This comprises all the other things. So this is our designer service fees, septic design, your owner's project manager, their clerk of the works who's on site during the process of construction to oversee it. Energy modeling to comply with the latest addition to the energy code. Materials testing, commissioning. So this is independent agencies that will come in and sort of stress test the building to make sure it's optimally performing. Any of the radio equipment and infrastructure, IT equipment, TVs, monitors, cameras, things like that. Appliances, utility back charges, and legal fees. Those are sort of all the items that comprise the sort of soft costs.
Matt, what does FFE stand for?
Furniture, fixtures, and equipment. So if you take the roof off of the building and flip it upside down and shake
What
it,
falls
everything
out.
that falls out.
Okay,
Yep.
Good analogy.
thank you.
Yep. And then one more slide. The third bucket is contingency, right? So there'll be contingencies on all these things. There'll be one contingency bucket for your hard costs. Those deal with the unforeseens that happen during the course of construction. That's how you fund things like change orders, owner requested changes, things that weren't necessarily understood or flushed out during the design that need to be modified during construction, things like that. And then contingency will also apply to your soft costs. So maybe there's some sort of engineering service that wasn't initially anticipated, some other consultant that you may need to bring in. That's the contingency that allows you to do some of those things.
Can I ask a question? I guess we have the chief here and the deputy chief. Is there going to be any stuff that's reused as far as some of the component parts of this?
And that's probably hasn't been accounted for in what they do. So they just assume we're gonna need an SCBA system. They assume we're gonna need washer, whatever. Now, is that rounding error money? Could be. We have to sharpen the pencil and figure that out. But yes, absolutely, there are things that get reused.
Next slide, please. So let's take a look at the hard costs. So this is sort of a summary of where we landed with the estimate. So I've broken out some of those line items that I described previously. Some of those are sort of combined. So for the new addition, for that 13,000 square foot addition that we're putting on the back of the building, that's running just over $7 million, 7.355 million. For the renovation component of the building, we're estimating it at $650,000. Majority of that is those backup house spaces that are being, so there's a lot of reconfiguration that goes on with that. The pre-engineered metal outbuilding, that's coming in just under $800,000. We have $2.5 million in site work, and I'll get into a couple of the big ticket items there and where I think we can actually improve on that number. We included a hazardous materials abatement allowance. We don't anticipate there being much, if any, there, but buildings that are constructed before 1990, we want to make sure that there's not something hiding that we want to account for. We also have 10% contingency on our design right now. So that's saying that at this point, we're carrying an additional allowance for 10% of the value of construction because the estimator might have missed a few things. This is a complicated estimate. And we are going to do things as we develop the design that may inform changes to the estimate. So we want to make sure that we've got a little bit of room for growth in there, and that we're not sort of saying that what we provided at conceptual design is the end-all be-all. There's going to be some things as we bring in engineers and as we further develop the details that they're going to change the estimate, and we want to have some cushion in there to accommodate that. We're also showing a 3.2% escalation. So that is capturing an assumption based on what the market is going to do between now and the time of construction starts. We've seen in past months, for the past 10 or so months, that the construction market has been showing signs of softening. On a typical year, we might see 4 to 5% per year in escalation. Right now, we're carrying 3.2% as sort of a conservative estimate on that. We're sort of seeing a flattening market there, so that may hopefully bode well for us. That may end up being more than we need, but I don't know what's going to happen in the next 3, 4, 5 months. None of us do, so we need to have some contingency in there to plan for changes to the market conditions.
Because of the timing of this, it's really 2 years out, so is that?
That's for the completion of construction.
Yeah.
So previous school of thought before this past year, when the market wasn't softening, what you would do is you would escalate to the midpoint of construction. That gives you enough of a buffer. Right now, the estimators are sort of across the board estimating escalation to the start of construction. So that's kind of how they're dealing with that softening of the market. General contractors buy a lot of their scope over the first few months of construction. So you don't need to escalate out to the end of the job. The last few months of construction, everything's already been bought. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
And then we have contractor markup. So all those bonds, insurance, fees, all that is rolled up into that $1.8 million on the bottom line there.
Is that a percentage calculation, just based on the?
It's a series. It's a series of lines. Each one has sort of a percentage aligned to it. Some of them build on the previous line. Some of them are based on that $7.3 million number. I should say the 3 individual construction numbers. Next slide. Through our review of the initial estimate, we also identified some assumptions that were sort of above and beyond what we were anticipating. So we worked with our estimator to sort of redline those. Those comprised about $900,000 in value engineering that didn't affect the building. They were just sort of more robust assumptions that our estimator had carried. So you'll see on this slide a $902,000 markup estimate adjustment. So
Mark up or mark down?
mark down.
Okay.
Mark down.
Thanks.
So when you add all those costs together, subtract out the $902,000, we're looking at a $13.6 million construction budget.
And can you, sorry, Matt, can you say just a little bit more about the difference between the estimator and then the reason you put in that estimate adjustment?
Yeah, so in their estimate, there was, there's a lot of assumptions they're carrying. They're saying at a fire station of this quality for this town, we've done 30 other fire stations similarly, and this is sort of what we would see in those buildings that may not be captured in the documents thus far. And we go through line by line and work with our estimator and say, well, I think you're a little strong on this. I don't think we need that system, those sort of things.
And those are the 4 itemized there on the right?
Nope, so
Oh,
I'll keep going.
Okay.
That's beyond that.
okay,
So all of those together formulate where we see the construction budget being
okay.
throughout the process as we develop the project. So now that we have this estimate, we have a quantifiable takeoff on all building systems that comprise the construction, right? So I can go and work with my design team and say, I feel like this system is a little higher than we would want it cost-wise. Now that we see that number, we can work with our estimator and say, what was your assumption that informed the value of this system? Okay, let's look for some ways to make it less expensive. Let's look for ways to value engineer it, not reduce the quality, but maybe we can look at other ways to engineer these systems so that they're less expensive. And we have an example, I have several examples of how we're gonna look at that on the right. The one on the bottom, at conceptual design, we can always get 5% out of the building, square footage, without affecting the program. Just in refining the wall assemblies, the way the corridor sizes, the way rooms are arranged. Now that we have the furniture and everything put in there, we're gonna just kind of tighten everything up. We always give it another pass. Another one of the biggest ticket items, 2 biggest ticket items that comprise that $2.5 million in site work is the septic system in the leaching field. I've had some other projects recently where we've done a septic system that were a lot less than what the estimator's carrying. We have an existing leach field out here that is performing and is okay. So I think through some additional engineering, some additional investigations, that we can probably refine that system. The fire protection cistern as a standalone item, 60,000 gallon precast concrete tank, $780,000. That's a considerable portion of that $2.5 million in site development costs. I think that's very high. I think we can get a significant several $100,000 out of that, if not more.
Can you speak to why that would come through as so high? Via the
Our
cost
estimator,
estimate?
it's a very large single cistern tank, and it's not something that gets bought by contractors often. A lot of times you're piecing together 10,000 gallon cisterns, which are a more off-the-shelf assembly, but we had it estimated as one big single unit.
The other part of it is if they hit ledge and they were doing that, you can hit a lot of money. If we know we're putting it somewhere that's all filled and we know they're not gonna hit ledge, but the estimator doesn't know that, right? That's not their estimator's world. They just know there's this big thing and they put it in the ground, so.
Do we know from Carlisle experience generally what a cistern of this size would generally cost?
Less than this. A general rule of thumb is they're in the range of like $3 to $6 per gallon that they hold. So if you say it's $5 per gallon, 60,000 gallons, that's a third the cost that we're showing here. So
And do we have any extra cisterns that we can?
I just want to put these up here as examples of these are how we're going to identify specific systems and strategically target ways to reduce the cost without reducing the quality. This isn't the last estimate we're going to do. We're going to do several more of these throughout the process that'll show that continual refinement. And every time we get that estimate, we'll look at it, we'll adjust, react, and the building will adapt in a way to make sure that we're aligning with this budget. This is the backstop. This is the threshold that we're going to be targeting.
And maybe you'll address it. Sorry, go ahead, David.
So are those items on the right the elements that make up the 900,000, or is that after you've already taken out the 900,000?
After the 900,000. So these are additional targeted savings that we're going to be looking for.
but you weren't at a point where you could make adjustments
Correct.
at this stage.
Yep.
Whereas the other ones, you're confident and you can stand behind the adjustments that you made.
Yep, absolutely. I think, like, for example, on site work, there's some other lines in there, like our estimator not knowing exactly what we're doing with the parking area around the building is assuming we're taking that down to subgrade, putting in a new gravel base, binder course, and asphalt for the whole site. I don't think we're gonna have to do that. I think we might mill and overlay some pieces, but I think for the most part, you know, a lot of it's in reasonable condition and we can maintain some of that. So, I mean, there's a lot of cost associated with that as well. Just, I could rattle off 100 different examples that we're gonna be digging into.
Do you see, and you can get to this at the end, I don't mean to bring it up prematurely, but you're gonna talk about soft costs. Soft costs, some of the soft costs come from the hard costs. Do you typically, you know, you're talking about some of your experience, what's a reasonable expectation, or what are some examples of the delta between the total hard costs and or total hard plus soft costs at this stage of the estimate versus down the line? I mean, typically do the numbers, budget items just shift around, but you end up kind of where you thought, or do you see a general reduction in a range of a certain percentage, or does it vary?
So the soft costs predominantly are budget holds. I would say those are your allowances. So those will get refined as scope gets bought, as things get bought. So a majority of them are going to, you know, so some of those things like testing agencies, like that's gonna be a result of how much testing is conducted during the course of construction. You sort of pay as you use it. The furniture, the FF&E budget, we don't know exactly what furniture we're going to be buying at this point, but sort of a reasonable rule of thumb that we use is a general percentage based on the square footage of the building. Like X number of square feet typically requires X amount of furniture, and that sort of establishes a reasonable budget for that. And this is a fairly conservative furniture budget on this one, assuming that we're going to be reusing some things and some equipment and the like. In terms of the construction, those will slightly change as we develop it. We're going to get the subsequent estimates back. They may be below what we're showing. They may be a little bit above what we're showing, and depending on what that tells us, depends on how we're going to react to that, right? If the next estimate shows we're $1 or $2 million under budget, we either discuss that as a savings to the town, and hooray, we did a great job, or we say, what are we missing from the project that we might want to put back in, and that would certainly be a decision for the building committee subsequently to make. But for the most part, a lot of the soft costs, those are going to be fairly fixed. They're based on the project parameters as we see them today.
So when you look at the kind of lesser known or unknown or more risk in this, it's really the site work is where you think that the greatest variability could be.
Yeah, I think when we look at what the cost per so if I was to take the new addition, divide that by the square footage, that's a very reasonable cost per. It's like $800 a square foot, which is right around where we expect a fire station to come in at. Same thing with the outbuilding. It's like $450 a square foot or $550 a square foot. For a project like this, that's where we would expect it to be. So I think our building costs are reasonable. Our site development costs are fairly high, and like I said, a lot of that comes down to the cistern and the septic, which comprise nearly half of that number when you add them all together. A reasonable kind of rule of thumb is like $1 million per acre of site development. We're not developing 2.5 acres, so it is higher than we would anticipate. But that large budget for that scope of work means there's a lot of refinement that we can do. And that's going to be one of the areas that we're going to target aggressively.
And that's something that once we've are a go on the actual construction, you learn that fairly quickly on the front end?
Well, that'll be flushed out before we get to construction. Yeah. So once my civil engineer is fully on board in the design portion of this, they've been there for the investigatory work, but once they're engaged for designing it, in working with the other boards and committees that have jurisdiction over that site, we'll start to refine that quite a bit.
Okay. Good.
Let's keep moving, because I'm conscious of the time.
So this is a summary of the total project costs. So those hard costs that we just talked about was 13.6 million. Would recommend a 5% construction contingency to accompany that at 680,000. That's to deal with your unforeseens. Soft costs, all the fees, all those other line items that we talked about is just under 2.4 million. We suggest also a 5% contingency on that, which is another 119,000, which brings us to a total projected project cost of 16.75 million. And if we were to suggest a range, just as a sort of a back check, I'd add up to 17.2, just based on where we are today. But I'll tell you right now that our fees and our target for the construction budget, we're gonna toe the line on that 17 or 16.75 million. That's our goal, is to keep it under there. If for whatever reason the project does come up a little bit higher in the construction costs, our fees aren't going to change. We're locked in at that. So this is the last slide. So just summarizing that. So this is looking at our phase 2 costs, what we're looking at for this appropriation. So design and permitting. So these are all the architectural and engineering fees. This is architectural, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, technology, fire protection, security, audio-visual, structural, site, civil, landscape, engineering, energy modeling, all rolled up into that $1.18 million. That's through bidding. Your owner's project manager is $105,000, and that's also through bidding. We recommend carrying your soft cost contingency, because a lot of it is gonna, if you need it, it would be during the design phase for the most part. So we're recommending 115,000 in soft cost contingency. That's a recommendation. You can say yes or no on that one. But that comprises, that summarizes into a total of phase 2 at just around 1.4 million.
So this is what would be the next stage for going to town meeting to request.
Yep.
In that, what's that?
That's the.
That's the proposed article, right,
Yeah,
November.
Just to clarify for folks, back at the last town meeting, funding was approved to essentially continue the conceptual design work and do some site investigation costs. That's the money and the effort that's been ongoing since town meeting, and we're coming to the end of that. The next phase of this project, and why we need the cost estimate, would be to fund the schematic design, construction documents, and get the bids in, so that we would know the total project costs, and that's what we would go back to town for full funding approval. And that's the really big number. But to be clear, this 1.4, whatever the ask is at town meeting, is not something you embark on unless you're supportive of the project. So this is specifically design work that informs the conceptual design we're talking about. It doesn't, you don't come to the end of that with multiple options and more parameters. So I just want to make that point clear, where this is a small portion of the total budget, but it's an important step, and it's a sunk cost essentially once you head down that path.
So for examining ledge and stuff like that, which sound like they're the most unknown components, you do that during this next phase?
We already did that for the most part. So
You did your borings?
yeah, we did geotechnical borings earlier this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
It's good news, we paid for that already.
Yeah.
Is any of the money we spent included in this budget, or is this
Yeah.
all net new?
Net new.
This is new.
Okay.
Yeah.
But some of the work that we did can help inform the cost estimate.
Had you
refinement.
not done it previously, the number would be higher.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Okay.
That was it.
So high-level question for you. Obviously, you refine the cost estimate as we go. You come up with the documents required for bids. Bids come in. that actually sets the actual project budget, the bids. What are you seeing in the overall marketplace right now? Again, we don't know, and we don't want to speculate on this project. I'm just curious what you're seeing overall among other projects that you're working on, or other municipalities are working on.
Yeah.
With regard to the climate for bids and cost escalations.
That's a great question. Economic uncertainty leads to favorable construction right now, and so we're certainly in a struggling time, especially post with the on again off again tariffs that cause a lot of uncertainty, especially in the construction market. New home build startups are slowing. Architectural Billing Index is down, which is a metric that talks about how much architects are doing work. So the market is slowing today. What that's creating is softening on the bid market. We're sort of seeing that across the board, that bids are coming in below estimated value. In fact, the estimator that took off this project informed me that on the whole, throughout the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, public safety buildings on average have bid 8% below their estimated value. I have some examples towards Worcester County, where some public safety buildings have bid this year between 10 to 20% below their estimated value. This is sort of unheard of, and a lot of it is having to do with contractors being uneasy and unaware of what the future holds, and they're making sure that they have enough work to keep their people busy over the next few years. So I think right now we're seeing a really favorable market as far as bidding goes. Over the past 100 or so years, there's been retractions. They sort of line up with recessions. The last one being at the beginning of COVID, 2008. There's been a series of those. I gave a presentation the past 2 years in a row at the Station Design Conference on construction costs in particular. And one thing that we analyzed is whenever there's a retractionary pressure on construction costs, as soon as that is over, as soon as the market starts to turn itself around, it makes up for that suppression really, really quickly. And so like what you saw coming out of COVID, where we had a year or two of sort of a suppressed market into 2020 and 2021, then we saw that 15 to 20% escalation rate in line with the inflation we were seeing. And that's sort of a cyclical cycle that we see every time there's sort of this downward pressure on the construction market. So there's a window in order to take advantage of this. And I'm not here saying that let's rely on that value savings. We need to rely on the estimate as the number, but we can be hopeful that we might see some of that value realized when it comes down to the bids.
Okay, there's a lot of information here. And I want to allow time for that. However, I do want to be conscious of our agenda and the question at hand, which is the first one of, do we have any additional questions we need to ask right now with regard to what Matt's presenting as we consider, do we include this article in the special town meeting warrant? Does anyone have any comments or suggestions on that? David?
No, it's a great presentation. I think we should move forward.
What do we have to do, actually? Do we have to, do we need a vote?
We have to make the motion?
We need a motion for every article, correct?
No. You
No.
need a motion to approve the warrant.
The page,
We need a motion, so should we just do that at the end,
Yeah.
after we've heard?
oh, you mean we can do all of them at once? Because because we had this motion in here that was recommend to move article number, whatever, but we don't have to do it one by one?
Yeah, I mean, assuming they're all gonna be part of one, you could approve the whole thing, or you could approve each one individually, that's fine too.
Why don't we just do it en masse at the end?
Okay.
One comment I want to make is that it's obviously a large budget item and a large ask for the town. I'll be meeting with FinCom on Thursday. They've been provided these materials, and I'll be meeting with them. because it's important that they engage on this, and we look at the corresponding debt schedule based on the cost estimate, and can articulate to the taxpayer what this would require in terms of their individual contributions and the contributions overall. So they have this information. I'll be meeting with them, and obviously their assessment and recommendation will be important to the project. But again, I support moving this forward. I think it's important. A lot of vetting has been done in terms of working with the fire department, the assessment committee, the apparatus assessment committee, to really ask the questions of what is needed to maintain the current on-call fire department and the current operations. And I'm confident that this proposal meets the minimum requirements of what we need to maintain our on-call department. And the on-call piece of it is very important. We'll get into that later, not for tonight. But I think it's important that we present this information to the town for their approval and go from there. So I certainly support including it in the special town meeting warrant.
Great.
Two quick things on that.
Please.
Just make a pitch for when is the public
yes.
presentation?
Thank you.
Oh, right.
October 14th.
October 14th.
So next week, we're getting the word out, continue to get the word out. There'll be a fire station tour at 6 p.m. hosted by Chief Soros.
On the same night.
On the same night, Tuesday, October 14th, fire station, 6 p.m. for a tour. At 7 p.m. here in this room, Matt will be back to give a more in-depth presentation of the conceptual design for the fire station and be on hand to take comments, answer questions for the public. There is a video tour that is being posted imminently of the station that Chief Soros was good enough to cooperate with me in creating. That'll be available for people who can't attend a tour. The presentation that Matt will be making will be recorded and posted as well on the project website, which I wish I had the QR code I could put up, but it's on the town website under Select Board. There's information out there. So we're pushing out as much information as we can. Please attend the tour. Please attend the presentation. If you can't make either or both, you'll be able to view both online at your convenience.
And the other thing maybe to point out is that also this is will require a 2/3 vote at town meeting.
And a subsequent.
then there will be a subsequent election, a ballot vote. 2 weeks later?
Yeah, if this
13th of November.
If this
Yeah.
achieves a 2/3 vote at special town meeting, there will be an election on November 13th for the debt exclusion. And that will be November 13th, and we'll have more on that as well, publicizing that.
So both of those have to be approved to move forward.
Both have to be approved to move forward.
And this is just for the design costs.
This is just for the
Right
one.
now set at 1.4 million,
Correct.
and that's it.
A question, Ryan, does the vote, if it makes 2/3 at town meeting, what, does it also have to do 2/3 at the ballot box?
Majority at the ballot box. So the town meeting sets the budget, the 1.4 million. The election only authorizes the exclusion of that cost from Prop 2.5.
Okay.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
And if anyone has any additional follow-on questions, please send them to me, and Matt has been kind enough to offer his time to respond, because I know there's a lot of information to digest, assimilate, and communicate. So, thank you. Appreciate
Thank
you
you.
coming out.
Okay, you didn't vote, and are you gonna recommend the article?
Well, we were gonna do them all together.
All together.
Well, do we want to take a position on the article tonight, or do we want to,
Are you, what are you asking, Ryan, about voting to put it on the warrant?
I thought Scott said if you're gonna vote, if you're gonna do it all at once.
we're going to do the vote to include it on the warrant altogether at the end?
You could decide individual articles that you wanna recommend, or you could take those all off and just do them in the motions. The benefit of having it on the warrant book is it's more exposure and
Right,
time, but
right.
it's not required by law.
And when you say recommend, you mean take our position on the
Yeah.
included article?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I would suggest, if we were comfortable doing, that it would be worthwhile to take that vote tonight, so it does get printed in the warrant book.
We'll do that vote later, is what you're saying.
Well, yeah, let's do that later. because it doesn't make sense to.
After we
yeah.
vote to put the article on the warrant?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't think you need to stick around for that piece of it.
Very good.
The long drive.
Thank you very much.
Thank
All
you.
right, thanks.
Sorry, we recommend has too many meetings in this meeting. All right, let's move on to MBTA communities. Julie and Sarah, and I know Travis and I were in attendance at the public hearing last night. So there was much discussion and deliberation and some decisions on terms of site removal. So I'm hoping you can provide the select board with kind of a brief status update of where we are coming out of that last public hearing, and where we are going and need to be in advance of and into special town meeting, which is November 2nd. And I know questions and concerns are raised about timeline and getting all the work that needs to still be done in terms of the bylaw itself and focusing down the site. So I'll let you take it away with an
Great.
update on where we're at and next steps.
Yep, so based on the sort of the application for pre-approval that Julie submitted in, August 13th, we received feedback from the state that you probably already know this, we're down to the one site option, right? Further discussions that we and town council had with HLC, in addition to the Attorney General's office, have further narrowed that option to really limiting this to minimal sites. So based on his discussion with the Attorney General, we don't have much of ability or very limited ability to designate open space. So really, if we're pick a site for 7 acres, it's whatever 15 times 7 is, and we have to zone that full 7 acres allow for 7 times 15. So
Can I just
Sure.
I'll give the layman interpretation.
Sure,
'Cause
sorry,
it's like so
because we need to allow for
Yeah.
at least 95 units at a density of 15 units per acre.
Right. And council, Tom was there last night and had spoken with the AG's office, and there's a whole host of questions around what the AG is approving or not approving, but his recommendation, based on his conversations and knowledge at this point, is that assume they want to see the 15 acres per unit, per 15 units per
15.
acre to be in compliance.
Yep.
Even though that might depart a little bit from what HLC may approve, there's this kind of a dueling approvals, and so his counsel and recommendation was that assume they want 15 units per acre. So that's informing a strategy to minimal sites, meaning minimal acreage.
Okay.
And
So-
you can only choose one site? Is that what I'm?
Correct. If we choose 2 sites because they need to at least be 5 acres, we would then by default be zoning for at least 150 units, 75 plus 75.
Each one has to allow.
Exactly.
Okay.
So,
And the development approach where you take a portion of a larger parcel, I think, I may be explaining it wrong, is basically,
Yeah,
don't
he's-
assume that's the case. So if you have a
Yeah.
10-acre parcel and you want to use 6.3 for this, assume they're going to say 10 acres, 150 units.
Huh.
How do they account
My-
for it?
yeah.
I remember reading, the April, the written document, and it said, well and septic. There were some contingencies, like you may not have to zone for the whole.
so we
15
don't have to
units per
account
acre.
for, like, for example, if we pick a site and you could assume that it could get assume that it could get pipe water and a wastewater treatment plant or, town septic, town sewer, even though we know that's not the case, we don't have to account for that. We can't actually say in the zoning that we can't regulate that, or we can't,
Okay.
that cannot be part of zoning. It's
Okay.
up to the developer to either bring that in from, another town, or provide well water on site, or, build a large septic system, or build a wastewater treatment facility. So that the burden of that is on the developer or the parcel owner to do that. And so we can, you can kind of make some assumptions that if somebody might not want to build a wastewater treatment plant, but we've been really sort of, I think the thing to assume is, I think we need to assume that if we zone for 95 units, that at some point 95 units may very well get built. It might be 30 years out, but at some point that very well may happen. So we're trying to be cautious about where we put that.
Right, and so based on that feedback and additional perspective, you essentially are looking at the single site options, and last
Yes.
night took some off the table.
We took all the larger sites off the
So
table.
did you want to just briefly run down the list of the sites?
Yeah, sure.
And a brief explanation
Yeah.
for why they were taken off the table?
Oh, why they were taken off? I don't have a
Well,
slide
they're,
about that.
basically it was not,
Oh.
Is the list we have in the packet under Article 1, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, is
Yes.
that the current list, or is
That's the
that
current list.
before?
That's the current list.
Okay.
And just to go into a little bit of detail, St. Irene's is a little over 6 acres. The Congregational Church on School Street is a little under 6 acres. The two Old North roads vary. 75 West Street is 17.9 acres, but the strategy is because it's already parcels have already been, what's the word?
Sorry, Ryan, can you
Yes.
show slide 4?
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at
Yeah,
Julie's
I
slides.
just realized it's not, yeah. So
Thank you.
These are the remaining sites.
So, 75 West Street, the full parcel is 17.2 acres, but because he's already submitted his subdivision plan and that's been recorded, it's actually it's like 6 2-acre sites. So our strategy would be to only, if we went with that site, we would only select 3 of those 2-acre parcels. So it would actually just be 6 acres.
Oh, hang on, sorry, I was
We
page
don't have
30
the
in the
presentation.
packet,
It's right here.
It's right here.
okay, no, I'm looking at,
the article.
Hey, Sarah, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I apologize for the noise. So, if I go back in time, like you guys were trying to pursue a year ago, maybe a single option, and, got this citizen petition that basically said, don't give the voters a single choice. That's no fair.
Mhm.
Give them multiple choice. It sounds like the Commonwealth is forcing you now to go back to a single choice. Is that correct?
So I think, so we were asked to present the town with options, one of which being a minimal site option. Our original strategy was to do that and a couple other approaches, maybe a scattered site approach and a clustered approach. We could still, and I believe, plan on giving the site a couple options, but they will all be one site options. So I think it makes sense still, because we've heard different things from different people in town, to still, I think there's a couple that there's at least one that I think we're probably likely to put on the table. We probably want to land on 1 or 2 more. I still think it would be wise to give the town a choice. One of which might be very unlikely to be developed. If you look at Kay's Walk, they're high-value homes. They're just developed. They're on 9.42 acres of land. So, somebody could someday bring in water from Bedford, which would not be a bad thing, and it would be on probably the best road in town to put a larger multifamily development. And so, that seems to make sense to all of us. But that's probably a far out time frame, and or may never happen. It might just exist as it is. And then I do think there's a decent number of people who might want to see an option that does produce some new housing in the short term. So I think we might look at 2 other options that produce some housing in the short term.
and I would
So
just.
let me clarify my question, sorry. So it sounds like, I guess I misunderstood. So you still plan to present more than a single site, but the goal is we can only vote 1 site, because if we vote more than 1 site,
Correct.
the construct is it'll be all available to have, like the Lexington problem of, 200 units. or
Yes,
whatever, right?
that's definitely not the strategy.
Okay.
With Kay's Walk,
Right.
let me see if I understand this. So somebody might purchase the entire development and somehow find a way to
Yeah.
put additional units on it.
Or demolish them, or this is kind of the very, very unlikely to happen scenario.
And you were saying, did I hear you correctly? And maybe, I don't know if you're speaking for the planning board or just yourself, but saying that might be a good option.
I was kind of hearing that last night. We have not voted on that,
From
so.
from the
Yeah.
planning board,
Yep.
not the community people.
Correct.
Barney, one of the things that, from a very high level that was discussed at the end or toward the end was some of the some of the members had said that they changed their philosophy in the recent days and weeks from looking at this MBTA as being an opportunity to diversify housing and essentially push us into some growth. And that at this point, the sentiment is this is not an effective law to do that for Carlisle. And so there is support for approaches that essentially are compliant but are not likely to be
Unlikely
developed.
to happen.
And I'm not saying
Yeah.
that's all the planning board members, but that was a sentiment that was expressed. And I'm sure, I don't know how it stacks out among the community, but I'm sure there's, a portion of the community that's also, it's the paper compliance, right? It's
Yeah.
compliant, but we like this option because it's got the most barriers, was the word being used, to
Yeah.
development. And unfortunately, the law is a blunt instrument, and
Right.
it's not really, and the Attorney General and HLC's model are not seemingly, at least to this point, being flexible in terms of how it's implemented. They're it's kind of a check the box, hit the mark, and move on.
Yeah, I think we, a lot of us feel like we would like to see another housing type in Carlisle. I just don't think this is how we're gonna get there, personally. I think we want to have a little bit more control, or a lot more control over, whether it's a cottage cluster or, we can't control a unit size, we can't control, there's just so much we can't control. So, hopefully we get something passed that's compliant and we come up for air, and maybe we regroup and at some point in the near future propose something that we think might be more appropriate for Carlisle. So I don't think any of us have lost that sort of commitment to trying to find sort of a missing middle housing, whether it's for, younger families or empty nesters or whoever, but this just gives us so little flexibility in how we get there.
And a resident, I forget her name, but made that point toward the end of, just because MBTA isn't the vehicle to generate that housing, we still have control over all the other zoning possibilities that we as a town can pursue. And we should, if not MBTA, if that doesn't get us accomplish its goal here, we should not give up, and we should continue to pursue those other options that are more in our control.
Yep,
Do you
because
think-
sorry, go ahead.
Just gonna so, do you think there's a sense of the planning board that, among members of the planning board, that they want to pursue a different way of having Carlisle be able to build sort of that kind of housing we're looking for? And two, do you think everybody on the planning board is willing to continue?
You mean when, I'm gonna say when this passes?
Yeah.
I think we all need to, this has been a marathon. I
Yes,
think we
I
need to get
understand
through
that.
this month
Yeah.
and come up for air, but I do feel that there's that sentiment that we would like to work on something.
Yeah.
But, so I guess along those lines, we also would like to present the town with a range of, options for this, so,
So between.
as options for MBTA sites.
Yeah. Two other questions about, they're both about the churches. So, tell me the thinking behind having those two listed, particularly, I don't know much about the Congregational Church's plans, but at the parish, my understanding is they have no interest in selling either their church or the land, but they might do something with the land themselves.
Yeah, I mean,
So is that on here because, again, it's kind of a way to comply, but unlikely to happen?
it's It's on there honestly because it's 6.24 acres. There, I think if way back a long time ago,
Yeah.
we found some sites. I think you might have, I forget who actually did
Yeah.
this. There's been so many people involved, but it's the perfect acreage. It's on a major street. If the church did decide they wanted to sell, it would give them the opportunity to do that. So again, it's zoning. It doesn't
Require.
force anything.
Right.
It's an option
Right.
for a parcel owner. So that's really why they're both on there. Congregational church is 5.5 acres.
And the town council was also reminded them that anything you don't put on this list tonight, it cannot be considered after tonight.
Right.
So if you're not on this list, you can't be debated or considered at town meeting. This sets
Right.
the scope.
Right.
So some of these parcels, I think, they were discussing prioritization, but they weren't ready to take them off just yet because we're still waiting for additional information or compliance modeling. And so it's, well, let's keep it on here because if we
Yeah.
take it off, you can't put
You
it back
can't
on.
Consider it, yeah.
Right.
So
the
can I
fact
ask,
that-
let me ask about, let's discard those. I understand you're putting things on just so they can't be, because you can't be ever living. But if you take the 6 acre plus sites, and to build on the comment, like St. Irene's is an unwilling participant, let's say, Reichenbach is a willing participant. I want to go back to what Scott said. If you have a guy like John and he seems interested in actually doing this, in your mind, Sarah, and the planning board, that makes it less desirable because it's more probable that he actually would take that zoning and build? And is that something you would present? Can you even present that at town meeting?
I think we would present it as something that's very likely to get built to some extent, not knowing exactly what the unit yield would be.
Yeah.
I don't know that we're actually taking a view. I think it's telling the town, if you would like to enable more housing production, this is where,
Yes.
this is the site that would be the most likely to produce.
And so let's say that's a site. You said he doesn't, or not he, it's not really he. If a developer took that site, they don't have to build all 95.
Correct.
They can build any number of them they want, but they can't be larger than, like, the density has to be maintained. I
Yes.
want to understand, like, what flexibility do they then have once it's zoned that way?
We limit the you can put a lower minimum on density. We could limit the.
I mean, can you put one McMansion on 3 different of those 2 acre plots? Or no? I mean, what's the bottom?
You can do that today.
Yeah, you can do that now. He would
There's
just
Well, I
do
know
that
you can do
now.
it now, but let's say we pass this, let's
There's
say we pick that
no bottom.
spot, it's three 2 acre parcels, and a builder comes in, and he's got the right to build 95, but he decides to build 3 McMansions. Is that okay?
Well, he can do that right now. They're already divided into 3 parcels. So
I
there's-
know, but what does
Yes.
that do to our
Yeah.
MBTA
Yes.
compliance?
He can decide to not build anything, David.
Yeah.
He could,
Okay.
so there's no,
And we're still in compliance. I
and
mean,
we're
right
still
now
in
we're
compliance. Compliance does not care what is actually built there.
Okay, all right. So once we vote it yes, it decouples what we actually do from compliance, is what you're saying, right?
Yes.
If you
and it-
vote a site that passes that other alphabet soup agency, then you're in compliance.
You need the AG's approval as well.
Well, okay, but you get all those approvals, and, okay, so I guess I'm still at town meeting and how it's shaped. If you present 2 or 3, is the planning board's plan to make at least one of those a likely to be built site? Because there are people who believe, yeah, why not? We should have 95 lower cost units.
David, and correct me if I'm wrong, my interpretation was that one of the in addition to looking at the scorecards and everything, these might be selected based on most likely to develop to least likely to develop, and it might be framed that way in terms of like high, medium,
No,
low.
I'm okay with that.
No,
I just wanna make
but I
sure-
think the
yeah.
intent was to present a range of options among
Right,
those
okay,
sites.
so that's what I'm trying to get at. The range of options the range would not only be 3 sites, but maybe a likely to not likely be developed characterization. Is that true, Sarah? I don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, again, always with the caveat that we really can't predict the future, right? So
No, of
somebody,
course not. But I mean, we've got to be honest. I mean, I follow the city in the woods debate, which rambles around, right? But I mean, there are a reasonable number of people who say, okay, it's a crappy law, it's a blunt instrument, but the intention is we need more housing. So let's build more housing. So, I mean, I'm sensitive to that as an option. And I'm also, of course, sensitive to the people who say, oh, the sky will fall down. It'll be terrible, blah, blah, blah. So, okay. I think I got my question answered. Thank you.
Can you, go, oh, sorry. Go
For
ahead.
my clarification, I had a question. I thought I saw or heard Sarah say a moment ago that we're still looking at one or two more options, but then Scott said, this is it after tonight. This is the
No,
range of
everything that you see is,
Okay.
yeah, no more than this.
options. Okay.
We took a bunch off last night.
Got it.
So I think it's critical that any of the options presented at special town meeting are compliant, and we have confidence they will be compliant if approved.
Yeah.
I know there was discussion last night about sites need to be run through the compliance model with HLC, then there's a bit of an unknown around the AG, but we have a good sense of that. What needs to happen between now and your next public hearing / special town meeting? The discussion of funding needed to potentially run some of these models through compliance. Because I want to make sure we have confidence that A, we get to town meeting, special town meeting with the bylaw language and the site information, and that two, we can provide confidence to the community that if we do approve an option, we're as sure as we can be that it will be compliant.
Do you want to take this one?
Sure, yeah. Ryan, can you show slide 2, please? So there were 6 sites, the planning board narrowed it down to 6 sites that we just talked about last night. Only one of them's gone through the compliance model, so we have 5 that we need to model.
Which
We're-
one's gone through compliance?
The
model?
67 Old North Road.
Okay.
It was the one that I submitted to the state.
Okay.
The other 5 have not been modeled, so we had a meeting today with our compliance consultant, and I sent them the information, and they're gonna get started. We need to figure out the funding piece, but they are gonna get started because they understand our time frame constraints.
I spoke to FinCom, so do your due diligence. There is a placeholder on the agenda Thursday if there's the need a discussion for potential funding.
Okay, that's great. I did reach out to Mass Housing Partnership today to ask them for a status update.
Right.
They're the entity that gives the grant
Right.
funds for this.
Because the timing of that might be challenging.
So I don't know if I'm gonna know by Thursday,
Okay.
but that is in the works. I have applied.
My perspective is, at this stage in the game, it's important that we spend the money on the remaining sites. That should not be an obstacle to the process.
Well, just as order of magnitude, how
Yeah.
much is this?
It's like, it's a few grand per site for modeling. That's the number I've been given.
$10,000.
Yeah, maybe 15. Yeah, I've asked for 20. I've asked for the max, just in
Yeah.
case there's like last minute stuff that comes up.
If it's a timing issue, if we were to fund something, could the grant still come through? And we could, do you know what I mean? Like because the concern with the grant is just how long will this take, right? And do we need to move forward sooner?
So I would use the finance committee reserve as a backup.
Yeah.
I would also, if I was select board member for a day, be pushing on our legislative delegation and these grant funders for support.
Do we know
As
how-
in the Mass Housing Partnership.
So the
And our
Commonwealth, well, an ally has put us in a situation where this is an expensive investigation and an expensive effort and time. I think we can push hard for their help to bring something to town meeting that people can feel confident voting on.
Mm-hmm.
And if it was expressed by town officials and elected people, I think it would have a lot of weight.
Well, send us the
Okay.
contact info. I don't know if you want to do that.
Well, and maybe
individually or
we
have
should
a-
do,
a-
maybe we should just authorize something to come officially from the select board too.
Sounds good. Yep. Do you want a motion, or you would just do it? Anyone opposed?
No, I think we can do it, and I can sign it
That'd
on
be
behalf
great.
of the select board.
And we should also put out the word, to individuals to contact the legislators.
To the individual select board members?
No, well, that too, but I was thinking
Yeah.
just residents in town, or people that, would respond to something like that,
Okay.
yeah.
Am I right that a lot of towns actually have passed passed in town meeting and not had things sort of
Many.
appropriately vetted, right?
Many towns, yes.
We do
So,
not want that to
I
happen.
totally understand. And
Nobody,
nerve-wracking.
probably no one more
Yeah.
than you.
No, very true. And just to explain the model a little bit, it's not a risk that they're going to just throw a site out and say, no, this site won't work. I sat in the meeting today and sort of, it's adjusting the parameters. So for example, if you have a 5.5 acre site, it's gonna have to be more dense, so we have to get the minimum density right, so it would have to be higher, right? It would have to be higher than 15 units per acre, because the acreage is smaller, but we might have to go up to 3 stories instead of 2.5 to make it all fit on the site, right? So if there's different constraints, you need to adjust the site parameters to make it compliant. It's not like they're gonna say, the site's not compliant because of some inherent property that it has, right? So, not to say that we don't need to be really careful about it, but it might sound a little bit more complicated than, if we get the math right, they should work. Am I
Yeah, so
explaining that right?
it's on slide 3, Ryan, and just like a little overview, where we're starting, right, what we would hope for, similar zoning parameters that we have in our current zoning bylaw, and then if those don't work, if 95 units can't fit on a site with those parameters, then do we need to increase the height? Do we need to increase the density? And that the compliance consultant is aware that this is what we need them to figure out for us.
But does the state put it through that compliance model itself too?
No,
Because I thought they didn't.
they don't. Our
They don't.
compliance consultant does, and we submit the whole model to the state.
But I thought you didn't need to, all you had to do is zone it for the compliance of 15 units.
No.
And on 6.2, no?
The application package requires a compliance model.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
right.
Someone's making money.
it's,
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
So yeah, so this is where we're hoping to start, and we'll see where we end up.
And so did you have the timeline on the previous one?
Yeah,
So-
so slide 2, Ryan, sorry.
So your next public hearing is, so your next public, do you have any meetings before the next public hearing?
We
Or-
do not.
And do you plan on winnowing down the sites prior to the public meeting or at?
Well, we can't do that. That would be a violation of open meeting law, so.
No, you could have
yeah.
it in a planning board meeting.
But she said they're not
They
gonna
don't
meet
have a
before the 20th.
Yeah,
So
we
you
don't,
can't meet
I
before
think we
20.
have to I think we need to do that in a.
As
Yeah.
part of the
Right.
public
You have
hearing,
to.
yeah,
Yeah.
the public
Yeah.
hearing's open.
Yeah, that
so,
has to,
yeah.
we had set the public hearing dates a while ago, so we could
You
notify of it.
you can't make any decisions in a planning board meeting? That's not a public hearing?
Now that the public hearing's open, yeah, correct.
We took 5 off the table last night. We can take 3. No, and we do have we do have the scorecards that we've been working on, which are really helpful. Again, we showed you this last night or last time, but with
Just me, don't worry about me.
input from ESC, Conscom, Traffic and Safety, Historic, Board of Health, everybody that seemed appropriate to provide input gave input. And so, we need to tweak the 75 West
Slide
Street
5,
one.
Ryan.
But, this is also one way to decide is.
So after the 20th, public hearing, then the planning board's gonna meet to decide the
No, at the
specific-
public hearing,
Oh, it'll
Yeah,
happen there?
yeah, yes,
Ah,
yes,
okay,
yes.
okay, gotcha.
yes.
And then the zoning bylaw language, how contingent is
Yes.
that language on the sites, or the sites just kind of a plug into a bylaw? Because we're meeting on the 21st is our next meeting,
Mm-hmm.
and that'll be our occasion to take a position.
Mhm.
If we deem to, but it would be good to know in that
Mhm.
meeting what,
Yeah.
I don't know how close the bylaw will be to final at that point, or what remaining
So
items will be
the-
left.
The bylaw was actually, the language is still mostly what you've submitted with, and Tom is writing it and taking out all the, he's editing it based on the input that he received from the Attorney General's office and HLC. So we've got a lot of input on that.
Yeah.
And that's the article, the language that we're seeing here in this article in our packet?
It's
So
just the
that's
warrant
different.
language.
I think you're seeing the warrant article.
Just the whole
Oh, yeah,
bylaw.
sorry, you were talking about sorry,
Yeah.
you were talking about the whole bylaw, got it.
Yeah, the whole zoning language, yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
yes.
And I will be
okay.
meeting with Tom tomorrow to walk, to just go through the zoning in detail.
And we have discussed that in several of the previous hearings.
Yep, and that'll be discussed at the next
And
one.
my last question is, the compliance models. Do you think, assuming you find the funding, do you think you'll have the
Mhm.
compliance information prior to the 20th?
We hope so. Did she give you any?
So they're gonna try to turn it around for us. They're not actually waiting for us to get the funding.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. Because
They
we're
said they
saying
would
if we
start-
have to.
Wait for us to pay 'em.
Well, actually, we never, if we get the funding, we never see it. It's all
They can
like
make-
through Mass Housing Partnership and Bowler directly, we don't.
I just think it's
So-
important, and even if you think
Yeah.
it's a formality, it's important to know when you winnow down that last list that there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's a kind of, at least whatever the stamp is, for the
Mhm.
compliance model.
Yeah.
We're,
And it might just also mean, like, we could take a site off because we decide it's not the appropriate site.
Right.
And get some input on the compliance model and tweak the zoning language a little bit, right? That's what would actually change. It would, the site itself wouldn't necessarily change, but the zoning language might change a little if the parameters
of
that we
that
put
site.
in. Exactly.
And it doesn't have to be universal zoning language, it could be specific
It
to
could
that
be,
site.
yeah.
Hey, Sarah, I want to circle back to my point. So the scorecard here is agnostic as to probability of being built, right?
Correct.
Or it doesn't mention it. Are you going to present, let's say you winnow it to 3, are you going to present a stoplight chart like this for the 3? Are you going
Probably.
to wait it or, okay. So you would need to add that criteria, correct? Like right now, if you were to pick the top 3 based on raw score, it would be 3 lots that are likely not buildable at all, right? I mean, presently not buildable because of the owner's legal location.
Not necessarily. I mean, again, it's zoning and this is up to the parcel owner.
Well, of course it is. You're giving me kind of a stock answer. I'm saying like if you say St. Irene's, no interest in selling currently, you'd have to say unlikely that they would do it at the present time. Like, the future's the future, right? No. But again, I'm saying like if you take a Reichenbach column, and he's not on this chart, so I don't know what
Yes, he is.
He is.
his
He's just
score was.
up. He's on there.
He's on West Street. Okay, so he scores lower, but he's more likely to actually build it. What are you going to do with that? I'm just trying to make
Well,
sure
that's
that
the
we're
debate.
really
That's what we're having.
Yeah.
That's kind of why we're having trouble narrowing this down, right? So.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, I would suggest,
Right.
without biasing it, if I can, that buildability has to, I don't know if it's positive or negative, but it has to have it has to be a line item criterion, right? Or I don't know what to do with it. I'm giving you a problem.
I think it's a
different.
different matrix.
Okay, maybe it's a different matrix. Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Okay. Conscious of the time, one last point, and then if someone wants to make a comment from the public, we'll allow that, keep it brief. But one thing to consider, the article's in flux, the site options are in flux. One question I had to Ryan today is if we wanted to print something in the warrant to the effect of the select board supports compliance with the MBA communities law, but has not yet taken a position on this article, given the site options and bylaw language are not yet final as of October 7th, we can put a statement like that in there that basically affirms our commitment to MBTA compliance without endorsing an article. And it's, as you said, you can kind of do what you want. If we want to make a statement like that in the warrant without a formal
Selecting us,
recommendation on the
right,
article.
right.
So we'll talk about that when we come back to this.
Okay. And if the select board has input on, which, I think we're looking for input from other boards and committees too. So if you have input for us, I'm happy to take that back to the planning board.
I think as a process, it's played out, it's messy, but I actually think it's actually kind of come up with a fair process where we've had the public involved. I mean, it's what democracy should be, and I think you've actually done a good job at that. So with it now, if you narrow it down to maybe 3 options, and as David keeps asking, but and really they're categorized as the in order of likelihood of being built, and then the public can decide at town meeting what's the best option for Carlisle. I think would be one approach, but I don't know if anyone else has that.
I know it's a little bit, who's gonna decide the likelihood of being built, you know what I mean?
Well, if you were there last night, they have all sorts of these criteria,
Yeah.
and they talk about the ownership and
Yeah.
the constraints, and
Yeah.
the site constraints.
It's a little bit subjective and
Yeah,
speculative,
that's
but
what I was
there
gonna
are
say.
differences, right?
Yeah.
There are differences.
Yeah.
One that has an owner that is advocating to build.
No, I know.
Yeah, we definitely, I think, have one on either end of the scale. It's
Yeah.
picking one in the middle, and the ones in the middle might be much more of an unknown.
Right.
Somebody could a developer could acquire a property and if they could afford to put in a wastewater treatment facility and figure out well water, that's a lot of money. So we want to be really careful about certainty of likelihood, right? And
But as you said, and I think it was really well articulated last night, that there have been some changed opinions in this process, where it started
much
as
so.
something, and
Yeah.
then,
Yeah.
now it's feeling like, wow, we're really being forced upon, and maybe this isn't the right time or right vehicle.
I don't remember.
Well,
Yeah,
the
right.
vehicle to the blunt instrument that's being.
To diversify housing.
Right,
And create housing.
right.
So, and you're talking to the Housing Trust on, is it
Thursday.
Thursday?
Yeah, I think
Gonna
Chris.
get some
yeah,
feedback from
we've
them?
got board members scheduled to go to all the different boards and committees for input and to ask for support.
But if I saw the list
Mhm.
correctly, though, you haven't had formal input from the CAHT?
We actually have
Okay.
yes, but their preference was the cluster sites.
Got it.
Well, actually, cluster sites in units of 10, so that one could be, so 10% would be one unit, would be affordable, right? So if you had 20 units, it could be 2. We could still specify that 10% of 95 units, which would be 9 units, could be affordable. But their preference was the cluster.
Got it.
So it's sort of more
Things have
dispersed and
changed
integrated
since
into the
then.
community. Things
So,
have changed.
Yeah, they might have a different.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank
If
you.
anyone from the public, I want to keep this fairly narrowly scoped, just given we have to move on, and I believe Ben and Chrissy are there from the Historical Commission. But if you have a comment regarding the inclusion of the article in the warrant, and/or I don't anticipate we'll be taking a position on the article tonight. We'll talk about it later, other than we support compliance with MBTA. But if someone has a comment on either of those points, I'd be happy to hear that. Yes.
I just want
Sti-
to say, I think that.
Please
scorecard-
introduce-
Yeah, introduce yourself, please.
Sorry, Maureen Beery, Cosgrove Dairy, South Street.
Yep.
The scorecard's been great, and I've been following this through all, from the beginning. But all of a sudden, last night, it didn't work for me anymore, because there was different information. We were all saying, like,
Yeah.
like I know for a fact, we're never gonna build on St. Irene's, but maybe that's what people want, but you have to say that. And West Street, we could build tomorrow if we let them, we need to say that.
And I think that speaks to what they need to address at the next public
Yeah.
hearing.
Yeah, I think we need to come up with another way to present that.
But yeah, I heard those comments and,
Thanks.
Yep.
But
Agreed.
so far, it's been really helpful.
right,
It's just changed all of a sudden last night, and I was like, what?
okay.
Understood.
Do you want to, okay, great.
Can I ask one quick question?
Please.
I've asked Julie, town councilor, so your assessment of how many people do you think are gonna show up to town meeting? I'm not gonna hold you to it, but do you still expect a big crowd based on the feedback you're getting? I'm just assessing risk and cost for
I have
the
no
scope
idea.
of town meeting.
I have no idea. I thought we'd have more
Everyone
people at
else
hearings.
Do you have a sense that the, sort of the temperature of the
Mhm.
debate has,
I think so.
gone down
I
a little bit,
hope
that there's a little
so.
calmer, that, no?
I don't know.
The
I
hearings
don't
have
know.
been, the tone of the
But you're-
hearings has been, I thought,
Yep.
very good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I asked because the gym
right,
overflows
Mm.
right, it's gonna cost a lot.
tens of thousands.
It's hard to say. I mean, we definitely had pretty good survey, it's just hard to know. There's definitely a big group of people that is very involved and interested, which is great. I think there's a lot of people who, friends that I talk to, they're like, okay, well, whatever the planning board recommends, that seems fine. I know you spent a lot, so it's just hard to gauge the general public that's not as engaged in goings on in town for whatever reason.
Having watched this, I think there's been a change since we went to the single site.
Mhm.
Now that you're defined on that, when you spread it out over town, there was a lot more community engagement because so many more people and homes were affected. And this,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
not that people don't care, and I'm sure there will be a lot of people showing up, but I think that may mitigate
Yeah.
it a little bit.
Yeah. this approach does have fewer abutters, which is potentially easier, or who knows?
Question. Maureen Deary, Selsey. Hi, this is more for you and maybe Wayne. So I've been reaching out for a lot of people, both email and in person, to talk about all the different sites and the changes last night. And the questions I think you're gonna be asked, which I keep saying to people, those aren't up for discussion at town meeting, is where would the road be and where would the driveways be and all these things that somehow someone has to make it clear up front that's not what we're voting on.
Yes, there's a plan to address that. They're gonna agree on pre-agreed facts and that I think will really aim at focusing the debate and discussion on the relevant, pertinent points versus a lot of the questions that may not be relevant,
What
so.
street it's on, if it's wide enough, all
Yeah.
those things aren't part of the discussion.
So I think they're gonna work to do that and publish that, and Wayne, I think as a moderator, looks to enforce that in town meeting, so. More on that, though. He's got his own thing going. Okay, with that,
Miss anything?
No, you did great.
we'll move on. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
For
Appreciate
coming
you coming
nights in a
for
row.
another night meeting.
We're moving on to the demolition review bylaw, which I also know is listed as a historical demolition delay bylaw, so I'm in the article, so we'll probably have to change that, right? We're still calling it review bylaw, right?
That's correct, Scott.
Okay.
Just demolition review bylaw, that's what we want for title.
What's the name of it?
Demolition review bylaw.
Demolition review bylaw.
But are we still, okay, but are we including historical demolition as part of it? Review bylaw? I'm just looking at Article 2,
It's just demolition review bylaw, Article 2.
Demolition review bylaw.
okay, say nothing about historical. Okay,
Well, it's in the body of the summary, the body of the
Okay.
bylaw.
okay.
So just as a quick update, since we last spoke with you, I know you had your meeting to review the bylaw. Both Barney and I attended a portion of that. So if you could bring the select board up to speed, we received the bylaw with the edits. If you could just walk us through some of the key changes and any open questions and work remaining between now and special town meeting.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for attending our special meeting on the 2nd. We scheduled that with the commission to really drill down on some of the parameters of the bylaw that have kind of come to the foreground for the commission. Those questions being the age of the house in question, or the threshold that triggers the bylaw, the review period length that's being suggested in the bylaw, and clarifying what historical significance means. So we have modified and advanced the thinking on all three of those facets. And so talking about the threshold, previously the bylaw was drafted with a threshold of a 50-year rolling clock. And I think that was challenging for community members to understand. And so we have changed that to a fixed date, to pre-1970. The review period, and we can talk more about that, the review period we have changed from 18 months down to 12 months. And historical significance, we have, I think, done a good job of clarifying this in the bylaw, but we have also crafted a companion document for the bylaw called the Historical Significance Checklist. And this would be used by the commission and the community members that are coming before the Historical Commission to clarify what the criteria are for historical significance. And I think one other item that we think was particularly helpful in clarifying historical significance was adding in an opportunity for homeowners to gain a determination of applicability prior to submitting for an application for demolition.
And that's 19.4 in the revision. So you would not have to get the file for the demolition permit to initiate that, or
Correct.
so.
And you could get a determination of applicability, whether historically significant or not, that would be good for 5 years.
So if I'm thinking of selling my house built in 1965 next year, there's a mechanism that I could put this request in?
Yeah, and we felt like this was a helpful planning tool for people in that position.
Okay. Do you know how many, again, roughly by changing the criteria? I mean, it's 55 years instead of 50. Again, roughly how much of the town that encompasses? I'm getting to workload and.
I haven't tabulated that number yet, Scott, but we could get you that information.
Is that a moving date, Ben? I mean, would 1970, it would just stay at 1970 forever and ever? Okay.
It would stay at 1970 unless the town decided to amend it, the bylaw.
Sure.
Correct.
Is something driving the 1970 date?
Disco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a good year. I know.
Yeah. So we all know 1962 when zoning was enacted, and there was a lot of, there was a flurry of development that happened after 1962. We have tabulated that, within that decade, there were 340 houses constructed in Carlisle, and roughly 30% of those houses that were built were contemporaries and deck houses.
Mm-hmm.
And 56 or roughly 56% of the contemporaries and deck homes that we do have in town in the housing stock were built prior to 1970. So, and to add on to that, these were not just standalone, contemporaries and deck houses and other homes being built at this time. These were communities that were being built. These were developments that were going up. So, we talk about Wolf Rock Road and East Riding Drive, Heald Road and Indian Hill, just to name a few.
Mm-hmm.
These were actually neighborhoods that still stand today.
Right, and so there's a sense that they are part of sort of the cultural history of Carlisle? Is that why? Uh-huh.
Yeah, correct.
Can I go back to the question or point that Scott was asking on 19.4.1, which was the determination of applicability? I noticed that at the end it says the determination shall be non-transferable from one owner to another. It's a 5-year, thing. Why is that in there?
So we talked about this as a commission, and Chrissy and I have been back and forth on this item in particular, and we're feeling that after this draft was created, that that non-transferable clause there doesn't need to be there. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that's something that isn't necessary. I think it doesn't help the homeowner plan for their future as much if that is included.
Is there anything else that maybe didn't get picked up that you're thinking that was it?
No, that's that was the one thing that we discussed last night, actually.
I wasn't there.
And then, Ben, I sent my question to you and Chrissy earlier today, but the question that I think actually, Travis, you had raised before was the determination of, like, if you're doing a part of a building and you want to demolish it, sort of what's the criteria for when that project crosses the line into being a demolition of the structure? Or are you saying any change to the exterior of any structure that's pre-1970 would have to go through this process?
Hold on a second.
It's demolition is in the definitions, it's an act of pulling down, destroying, removing, dismantling, or
Correct.
razing a building or commencing the work of total or substantial destruction with the intent of completing the same. So
Do you think that eliminates like if somebody's
well, if
tearing down their garage and gonna build a new one, or taking off a part of the barn that's attached to the house or something?
dismantling, I don't know, how much dismantling do you do?
Well, that was sort of, how does that get determined? Or is that?
So sorry, I'm gonna just jump in.
Yeah.
If the demolition permit needs to be filed with the building commissioner, that would be, sort of trigger that definition of demolition.
And where is that defined? I mean, how does a homeowner know if what they want to do, it should be, that they need to request a demolition permit?
Through the building department.
And so it would be up to our building inspector
And
to
it
determine
currently
if,
is.
pardon?
And it currently is, so you have to get a demolition permit now.
If you're making any change to the exterior of your home, I know if you're gonna do an interior renovation project, the builder typically has to come in and get a permit, right? But
Yeah, so I'm saying the definition or the process is already an existing process, so we can get that answer for you.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying, not that we
You
don't,
didn't add a new process, the trigger is, this permit has been pulled.
got it, but so a homeowner would be deciding whether or not they think they need to pull a permit, a demolition permit,
Yeah. And we encourage them to ask if it's.
if they should or not, right? But that's just an encouragement. So like I could pull down the shed that, on the back of the barn and not ask for a demolition permit, or if I need
Well,
one.
it's a structure, so doesn't a shed fall in this? Or
Yes.
not? It would, right? It's a structure.
No,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, though, it's a little, honestly, we've pulled down a shed, probably 15 years ago on our property, and it never occurred to me to come ask for a permit to pull it down because it was falling apart.
What was the daily fine on
John
that?
McTivio.
Yeah, really. $300.
We just paid for our fire station.
$250.
I'll send you the billing copy.
Yeah, okay, but it's, that might be something we want to make sure people understand in town.
10,000 days.
Okay.
Ben and Chrissy, when I went to the hearing or your outreach on this, I asked a question, or I was making a point about 19.3.11, which is just more, it's a really technical thing, but I just was questioning it. It says, upon a determination by the commission that a building is preferably preserved, no building permit for new construction or alterations to the subject building will be issued for a period of up to 12 months from the date of the determination unless otherwise agreed to by the commission and applicant. So again, if the commission decided that this was a very historic structure and said, we really want to work with you to preserve it, but the applicant decided, I just want to do something different, and I'm gonna not do that, and I'm going to withdraw that, it doesn't say anything about withdrawal in there. Maybe it's somewhere else and I haven't picked it up, but I just wanted to make sure that's technically in there so that there's no ambiguity that, you know, if you withdraw, you can still do it, because it says you can't do it for 12 months.
If you
So,
No building permit
you're
for new construction or alterations to
So
the
Travis,
subject
are you
building.
asking if a homeowner can just opt out of this process?
Well, it says, it's so broad, it says new construction or alterations to the subject. Well, alterations could be, I'm gonna put in, I don't know, again, I'm just trying to come up with these hypotheticals because I don't want everyone else to get caught up in this 10 years down the road and have some
Sure.
ambiguity. But I was thinking about, well, you've blanketed everything, and if someone were to say to that whole paragraph, gosh, I don't want to do this anymore, but then the building inspector says, sorry, you got to wait for 12 months because I can't allow you to alter the inside of your kitchen because it says alterations to the subject. You know, now in good practice, you'd say, oh, well, I've dropped the application, so that shouldn't apply, but it doesn't say that anywhere, that it shouldn't apply.
I think that clause the otherwise agreed upon in writing is there would be an agreement between the homeowner and the commission that the project was not going to proceed as presented.
Which is the last, phrase.
Unless otherwise agreed to, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I just want to.
It could be elaborated on to include language like Chrissy was mentioning.
And certainly we can run
if
that.
that's not clear.
Yeah, just by council, just to make sure it's clear. I don't know, maybe it's too in the weeds here.
Yeah, we'll flag it with town council for sure and see what their feedback is.
Right?
All right.
I have a question. So I know you reached out to the building commissioner and he provided some feedback and concerns. What was the outcome of that conversation and those concerns in terms of, I know he had, I won't go through them all, but I know one section he was, is ripe for abuse. It was in section, I don't know if these are even relevant to the current numbering, but have those been reviewed, discussed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we have discussed these. It is on us to go speak with John in person about these, but we have reviewed these and have responded to them and folded them into the bylaw as best we can at this point in time.
We've also had some back and forth with town council on some of his points as well, just to make sure that everything's aligned.
Yeah, so Ethan and Tom have looked at this as well.
So are you saying that our building inspector has seen this new draft?
This was based on the previous draft.
No, that's why I'm asking. Has he seen the latest draft? No. Right?
No, he hasn't seen it yet. We
Yeah.
just sent you the latest
Yeah,
early this morning.
hot off the presses.
Yep.
But will you review this with him just as? Yeah.
Most definitely.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
So where are you at in my impression was you were working through the bylaw in your meeting and making some pretty substantive changes as a commission that would need, again, legal review, all that stuff. Can you just outline the remaining steps to special town meeting? I believe you're having another public hearing. Can you just outline the work remaining to get to special town meeting?
Sure. So we're meeting with, we're meeting with Affordable Housing Trust on Thursday. We're meeting with the Planning Board again on the 20th. We are going to meet with John Mativier as well. We have our open house on the 15th. Another open house right before our regularly scheduled historical commission meeting. Ryan has reached out about podcast and video, and we are considering that. So Ryan, expect a response from us on that.
Great.
And we are, drafting a letter for the mosquito as well. They've reached out, and we will be responding to that as well.
And based on your schedule as a commission, you feel like you have time to validate the changes, socialize the changes. I don't know if there's any additional remaining feedback you need to incorporate. I just want to make sure the cycle times are such that the timeline works for special town meeting.
Yeah. Since our last meeting, Scott, we have revised the bylaw, the one that's in front of you today, and this has already been reviewed by town council. So if there are any further developments, which should be minor at this point in time, we will certainly be sending them to town council for final review.
Basically, the meetings at this point are socializing the bylaw versus asking for input at this stage. Fair?
Yep.
Okay. Additional questions, comments?
Is David still on the line?
David, are you out there? He's supposed to be here at some point, but.
8:30, he said.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm listening.
Okay.
So, I have questions, but I'm not going to tie people up right now. So, I think
I'm sorry, David, you're breaking up on our end.
right now.
We're hearing muttering, but not exactly what you're muttering.
I think your connection is breaking up.
No, yeah, you're good. You don't need this.
Okay, maybe mute David. I think the gist of what he says is he has thoughts, but he doesn't need to share them at this point. In terms of inclusion at town meeting, comments? I mean, it seems like your timeline is such that I would, just say, given you're still making edits, it's important that you lock down this bylaw and socialize it, so that, the public has time to digest and process and ask questions. You can answer questions. So I encourage you to do the podcast and the outreach. Because if David was here, he'd say, as you say, you have whatever the term is, one shot at the, what is it?
The king. You
One
better
shot
hit-
at the king. You better hit
not
the
miss.
king, not miss. So, yeah, that's my advice on that one.
I mean, it seems like, what I heard Ben say was, though, that if there were any changes, they would be minor edits.
Okay.
And town council has signed off with.
And
is
Scott's
this
point
one.
about just socializing and
Yes,
getting people,
absolutely,
getting
absolutely.
everyone aware, because
Right.
that's key to the
Because there's some
success of this.
there's some big substantive changes in this draft, right? Like,
Yeah.
compared to
Yeah,
the last
totally.
draft.
Good.
So,
But I appreciate the feedback, like
Yeah.
the loop that you've gone through, the efforts that you've gone to. You've taken feedback, you've thought about it. I mean, I think it's up to the voters at this
Yep.
point, or the town meeting, to
Yeah.
figure out.
okay. And then, with regard to the warrant, we have the correct title, and the text was provided by Historical Commission.
Summary, yep.
Okay, all right. All right, thank you, appreciate it. I think with that,
Thank you all.
we can move to discuss
Thanks, everyone.
or take a vote on inclusion of the three, nothing to do with, we don't have to talk about Banta at all, right?
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Banta. Hello. All right, great. So with regard to recommending inclusion of the three articles at special town meeting, we've discussed all, I believe we support including all three. So if there's a motion that someone can
Yeah, I think
formulate.
it's on page, oh wait, this is the wrong.
I have the,
Page 23, I think, is where it is.
here, I had the previous version, which was, no, that's not it. It was number,
Maybe, Barney?
Pardon?
26 of 160? Is it on page 26 of 160?
there was this one, move to recommend article title for
Yeah,
inclusion.
so we just list all three titles?
I would say to approve the warrant as presented tonight, and let me briefly
Yep.
present it to you.
Oh,
that the
okay.
board is
And is there
Do that
anything in the
first.
wording we need
Okay.
to review?
So I'd like to just
Yep.
quickly go over the language, the
Right.
summaries, the overall look, and then the order. which is important. So, from feedback, Article 1 would be MBTA Community Zoning Bylaw. This language is straight from council. You see the chart here that was discussed tonight. As Scott said, that limits the scope. We also have listed that the bylaw will be available on the town meeting website, right here on the warrant, so people can see it whenever it's published. And then this summary was also written today by council, based off the conversations last night. So we feel like number 1 is in good order. Hopefully your motion includes any administrative or logistical changes. Article 2 would be the demolition review bylaw. Same thing about the bylaw being available. The summary was written by me and then perfected by the Historical Commission. You'll see in both of these, you have these will or will not make recommendations. That can completely leave, or you can put, we'll do it at town meeting, or any language you want.
But just to go back for a minute, so on the MBTA one, though, have we decided, or do we need to vote on including language that says we
need to vote on
support
that, yeah.
compliance? Okay.
We'll do inclusion first, and then we'll talk about that one
Okay,
specifically.
okay.
Okay, for fire station renovation design, it talks about everything that's necessary to pay for the things that were discussed tonight, the 2/3 vote. This is a summary that Scott and I worked on together, so it takes what a yes vote would be and incorporates the project goals or aims, and then links to the fire station renovation and expansion website, which provides a tremendous amount of information. We'll also list with the articles, the presentation tonight and all the different items, including videos and podcasts. So that, believe it or not, is a 2-day town meeting, despite annual town meeting having 10 times more articles for your signatures.
And we don't specify, that's not specified. All that this is the order. It's not days.
No, and that can change. But so you want to be comfortable with these as they're presented, all the ancillary information, and then the order of the articles is what we want to confirm.
Good question.
Yeah. That's the order of, well, MBTA should be
MBTA on
first.
Sunday. On
We know
Sunday,
that's
but the
gotta be
question is,
first,
do we
yeah.
go with the fire station first and then the demolition review?
I don't know that,
I don't know that it matters.
I don't,
I mean, if it is a second, meeting time,
There's plenty of time
Would it
for
make
those
any
2
difference?
articles, I
Yeah.
would think.
yeah. I don't,
I don't know what you're thinking, Travis.
I don't really have a thought.
Okay.
I think the fire, well, I don't know, I guess I was. I think I don't know, the fire station is, that's a multi-year effort to get us where we are today.
Mhm.
And I want to make sure we get people's attention, early, and having it the last article
Mhm.
seems like we've relegated it to less important, whereas the,
Mm-hmm.
demolition review bylaw is something brand new that's still being drafted
Mhm.
as of today, so, I don't know.
Okay.
fair point.
Want to flip the order?
I could go with that.
I'm fine with changing it.
A little bit.
Let's do that. Fire
David?
station will be Article 2.
Yeah? Do you have anything? No. Very good. No voice.
No, I think he's,
Well, there he is.
let's vote.
Hey!
Here he comes.
Just
We-
in
we-
time.
I do have a thought.
Whoa.
Sorry, you pinged me. I was good.
I was
Let me get
good.
out of this. I
Yeah.
was good all the way till I got to Carlisle.
Of course.
And of course, you couldn't hear me then. So, first of all, I think we ought to take each article separately. And I don't think historical is ready.
The
Yeah,
the select board, okay.
yeah. And I think now, given the limited choices, and I believe the air has gone out of the room. Because people were mostly, I don't know, Julie, correct me if I'm wrong, but people were like, well, we can't have just a single site, we gotta have scattered, I mean, they were like all these multi-dimensional chests that they were like talking about. And now that the Commonwealth took the air out of that whole process and said, oh, no, guys, just this. People are like, all right, whatever, because the people who are really anti the high-density cluster, what are they gonna say? It was very emotional, like, well, we can't have high density, we have to have low density. but they weren't against compliance necessarily. They just didn't want high density.
So where are
Commonwealth
you-
said, all you got is high density. They're gonna be, all right, whatever. I don't know
All
that
we
it's
have
gonna
is
be as.
now, we're gonna have 2 or 3, like.
Right, but it's all the
choices,
same thing.
and It's the
Right.
same thing, it's
Right.
just, do you
So
want
I-
You're
to see
leading
development or
to-
you don't?
What I'm
say-
leading to is,
All on one
I like what I
day?
heard, fire station first, MBTA,
Oh,
You
and you're
said
done.
all one
Oh, no,
afternoon?
you
Yeah.
didn't hear quite the same.
Well, that's what I'm saying, and I don't think historical's ready, and if they miss, it's a long time before.
Grenade goes in.
The fact that they're tweaking this thing the 11th hour, they ain't ready. That's my belief.
Yeah.
I just wanted to express that. I
Yeah.
didn't want to get on the phone on that, but, I mean, I think,
Why not?
well,
That would have been helpful with them here.
Yes.
you know, that was a bad time. It wasn't a good,
Travis, they're still-
it wasn't,
Okay.
I've told them that.
Yeah.
They went back and they retooled it, but there's so many questions. Well, what's about, like 1970? Okay, there's some reason, but is that true like 50 years from now? Is it still 1970? I mean,
Yes, yeah, they fixed the date, they decided that,
I just,
I'd say let it go, David. I
Let
do.
what go?
I think the historical commission is as ready as they're gonna be. I don't think there's gonna be any more specificity around.
okay, well, but then it does tee back to managing town meeting, because that will be,
Yes.
that will become the longer debate, I believe now.
You think historical commission will be now?
Longer than MBTA? Wow.
I do too.
Possibly,
I do
because
too.
it really affects people directly. MBTA now, they're like, all right, whatever, we can only do high density, okay, fine, there's 3 high densities, we'll pick a high density.
No.
You don't think?
I think
I think
MBTA.
people are still
Okay.
very passionate about
Are you
it.
advocating Ryan had asked a question about number of attendees and that, and we don't need to get into that.
I don't have any way of handicapping that, actually. I mean, I think.
But do you think it's
Do you still think it warrants 2 nights?
You
or
know,
do
I'm
we just-
questioning that.
Or do we just lay it
Yeah.
out and we put a cutoff date where we don't start new articles after 3:30
Well,
or 3 o'clock? And then people can,
3 o'clock, 3 o'clock's pretty short if you.
no, I don't know what the time is, but you can give people
Okay, I like that what I think Travis just said a few minutes ago. Let's do fire station. Like, we need fire station. It's well thought out. We should get that done, right? That's kind of what you said, that is what you
No,
said?
I said, we were talking about day 2.
nights.
Oh,
thinking
day two.
that it was
Yeah. On the
Day
second
2, so it would be the, it would be the
I
I think we
second
gotta lead with
article.
MBTA, that's,
All right,
that's.
okay.
Yeah, we have
If
to,
it's
it's
all
the
one
biggest thing in our
meeting.
community right now.
Yeah, if it's all one
But
meeting.
the
you gotta
argument
start.
was that we could do
Yeah.
fire station, then demo.
I mean, you can call an audible at 4 PM or whatever. I mean, if we're pleasantly surprised, then MBTA sails through, then sure, keep going, right? Everybody would keep going, but.
Well, but we need to make sure we don't tell people Sunday is just MBTA, come back
Right.
Monday.
Right.
It just,
Right.
it changed, and we can do that. We could do a drop dead time. If MBTA is an hour discussion and it's 2 o'clock
Yeah.
and everyone's there,
It's gonna be an hour discussion.
you know.
Wayne's lead up isn't gonna be an hour.
His rules. His rules will be,
That's an important point.
That's true.
Yeah.
There's gonna be, yeah, well, and we've seen just these planning board meetings could go 4 hours. Like, there's a lot of,
Watched it last night.
yeah.
How long did it go?
I left at 11, just about 11. And that started at 8, that portion of it.
Well, boy, yeah, I mean, I hope their presentation is really sharp and as concise as it can be.
The MBTA?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, let's go
But,
back to the.
Ryan, oh, okay.
So we do have to approve the
What
warrant.
goes on the
and
warrant.
The order and the inclusion.
Right.
And so we have
So it's
MBTA,
MBTA,
fire station demo.
Okay,
That's good.
And we
That
have the
works.
thing, so do we want to take a motion on this and then we can, I
sure.
want to keep to the agenda, but this
Yes.
is important. So do you need a half hour for TA report?
No, but this is more important than the residency discussion, even though.
Well, we'll make time. We
Okay.
have time.
David showed up
So, let me
just for
make
the
a
residency
motion.
That's
discussion.
right.
We
Okay.
have time.
I move that we include on the warrant for the special town meeting in November, Article 1, MBTA Community Zoning Bylaw, as written in the packet. And Article 2, the
As
historic,
presented tonight, sorry, Barney, as presented tonight.
as presented tonight.
2 will be fire station.
And Article 2 is the fire station renovation design
Look at you.
cost
It's the only thing I can
as presented tonight. And Article 3, the demolition review bylaw as presented tonight.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion or deliberation? Seeing none, let's do a roll call.
Aye.
Modell, aye.
Snell, aye.
Stevens, aye.
Triola, aye. The next piece is, do we want to take any positions on the included articles and/or do a statement on the MBTA if we're not taking a position on the article? So we can take them one at a time. MBTA,
Yes, we should put the
Yes.
I wanted
statement
just
in
on
that.
the last thing we just did.
Yep.
Ryan had mentioned, did you need flexibility in that for language changes? Did you say, oh, I hope we could,
In the motion?
in the motion?
For any legal or administrative changes.
Including, well, okay, I guess we should vote again then, huh?
Yep.
So I'll amend the motion to add the phrase, and with approval for any legal or
Administrative changes.
administrative changes.
Second.
okay, any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, we can do a voice vote since we're all present. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
None.
And for
And
all
now
the
you gotta
fans out
vote
there-
again, because we just voted to accept the amendment. Now we
Oh.
gotta vote on the,
All right, we will now,
the
I feel like I'm back at
motion
town
as
meeting.
amended.
Now we'll take a vote on the motion as amended. And we don't need a second, correct, or do we?
Sure. So I
Second. Any discussion or deliberation? Seeing none, voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Amendments are gonna be an interesting thing too, by the way.
Yeah.
Although, at least the, anyway.
Okay,
Sorry.
No, thank you for catching that. So let's go through these. The first one, MBTA. I'm not ready to necessarily, I think, given where the bylaw is, taking a position on the article is,
Well, when you say take a position on it,
like the select board recommends passage of Article 1.
but the article is not which cluster we pick, right?
No, it's gonna be passing of the bylaw with whichever article is selected. at town.
Whichever parcel is selected.
Whichever parcel is
We
selected.
don't approve that? We leave open the possibility of non-compliance?
No, I want to.
no, that's why we don't wanna, we're not ready to take a position on which of the,
No, that's what I'm asking.
sites, but we do wanna
Right,
take a
so don't we
position that
recommend-
says we are in favor of
Right.
compliance with the MBTA
Right, so
Act.
the article is just about, do you support, I guess I should.
It's
read
gonna
it.
be
No,
the
the-
zoning bylaw. which
Right,
is
do we
zoning
support the
process,
zoning bylaw, but it doesn't pick which parcel?
Not which of the, but we
Can we
don't,
support the article
we don't,
without?
but we don't
That's
even know
what
the
I-
parcels yet.
Who cares? It's a
So I-
parcel.
Well,
Scott, I think, I mean, our position as a board should be, we support compliance.
Which means you have to support the
I
article.
don't know that I'm ready to line up behind any one site.
No, this wouldn't, okay, so on this one, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure how this is gonna be executed. But there'll be one final up-down vote on the article,
Yes.
based on whatever mechanic Wayne uses
Right.
to
To get to a
select
site.
it. So the article, we don't know which sites are gonna be proposed or all that, or what's gonna be picked, but the final Article 1 will be the site that town meeting has selected to be the up or down vote.
Right, but what's your alternative? Like,
We will support it.
you're gonna support
we're
it, so
gonna
support the
support
So
article.
you wanna take so,
I think we should support the article,
okay.
and then let the town decide which
Be
parcel.
specific in our narrative of support, saying we support Article 1, which is for compliance of the MBTA communities, but the select board
We're
is not
agnostic as
taking
to
a
article.
position
Right, yeah,
on
I agree
the-
with that.
the
That's right.
Yes,
which-
we should, right.
Which of
Yes,
the,
I agree with that.
you know,
Sites.
Yeah,
sites will be
that.
selected.
That,
Well, in fact, we really
that
can't,
it-
right? Because we don't
We don't know.
know which of
That's-
them will be will be discussed.
could.
And also,
We can just choose
Say
right
we
now.
like all six. Any of the six are fine with us.
No, we just
Yeah.
pick one right
Get a
now.
big
Tell
wheel.
them
Let's
the
spin the
select
wheel.
board thinks
Spin the
this.
wheel, there you
Oh
go.
my God, please do that.
Wayne,
Save a lot of
get
people.
Wayne on the line. We're gonna make this fun.
Right.
All right, so.
All right, so so what we are saying, let's see, do you want to take a crack at it, Travis, or you up?
Sure.
I think what he said was good.
I move that we support Article, or I move that we have a language that says that we support the passage of Article 1 of the MBTA Community Zoning Bylaw to comply with the MBTA Communities Acts GLC 4A, 3A, 760, CMR 72.00. And I don't even know if we
Without
want to, if
taking
we
a
want to add
position on a
in, yeah, if we
particular
want to add
site?
in more about the overlay, multifamily overlay, but
No.
with that whole language is in there. But we support that with the,
Or you, period, the select board does
period.
not take a
Yeah,
position
period.
on.
The select board does
specific
not
site.
take a position on the site selection.
Required for compliance.
Yeah, or the sites, I don't know, it says one site minimum area and then at least parcels, so does select board does not take a position on the prospective site? What do you, anyone,
On any specific
on
site.
any specific site,
Yeah,
period.
period.
Is that good? Ryan just typed it out, you want to read it back? That's fast. You should have dictated it.
Supports the passage of Article 1 to comply with the MBTA community's stuff. The select board does not take a position on any specific site.
Perfect.
Okay.
On any specific site,
Yeah.
On any,
specific, yeah. Okay. Everyone else?
it's fine. I mean, again, this isn't like a legally binding document, it's just
Yeah, no, but
expressing our.
we wanna,
No, but it's,
like how we feel about it.
It's accurate,
yeah, I
I
think
think.
people will know what that means,
yeah.
and we can tell them if
Or
they
do we
don't.
wanna say that the select board, no, I think that's fine. Okay.
Is that,
It's our
does that
posi-
pass the muster from your standpoint in terms of,
Seems good to me.
Okay.
The other boards and committees are asking similar questions.
and site is the right term, do you think?
Site would be the right term.
Okay. They'll be called, here are the different sites versus parcels, or, okay.
Okay, is there a second?
All right, is there a second? Hey, excuse me.
Second.
Excuse
Sorry,
me.
I'm
Is
usurping.
there a second?
authority.
Second, Barney. Okay, any further debate or deliberation?
Oh, boy, you know, he's,
Going in the corner, into the corner.
I have no position.
All right, any further discussion, deliberation? Seeing none, let's do a roll call vote on this.
Arnold, I.
Modell, aye.
Snell, aye.
Stevens, aye.
Triola, aye. Okay, moving on. Let's, Article 2, the fire station renovation design costs. This does not include the specific number, but the expectation is that it's gonna be the $1.4 million that was presented. That will not change, correct?
Only you could change it.
So do we wanna take a position on this one?
Yes.
I do. I want to, I believe, as I've said before, that we should include in the, maybe it's not in the warrant, but in the, whatever materials go ahead of time, the budgetary impact of the full project. Like, we should have total clarity on, I mean, we support it for lots of reasons.
Right.
Some were mentioned here, like on-call department, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, we owe the voters like a clear
To
idea of the
understand
cost.
the context,
Yep.
yeah.
And we
yeah.
also parenthetically have to add some placeholder for
The-
a DPW
Yes.
project. So, does that bake into
I don't think it
the
bakes. in-
motions handbook, or where does that show up?
So David, my plan next meeting is to present and agree on a set of assumptions that would allow that math to happen.
Right,
And then that would be included in the motions booklet and handouts and the
Right.
presentation.
And the
so people would
presentation.
have that available to them ahead of town meeting, so they could.
Assuming we can all,
Yeah, okay,
agree to
then
it
that's
next
fine,
meeting.
I'm fine with that, thank you.
Yeah. So we would have a motion here that is,
Support
the
passage of
select
Article-
board supports, or have we said it in the past?
supports the,
Support's fine. The select board supports the fire station renovation, supports Article 3, fire station renovation design.
2.
Oh, sorry. The select board supports Article 2, the fire station renovation design costs.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion or deliberation? Do a roll call vote?
Arnold, aye.
Modell, aye.
Snell, aye.
Stevens, aye.
Triola, aye. Demo review bylaw. Do people feel ready to take a position on this? I personally don't particularly. I still have questions and concerns that I want to see. One, I want to see the final bylaw language. Two, I want to make sure that some of the feedback, particularly from the building commissioner or any other recommendations that are relevant, are made and included. Because I do have reservations about this just as a resident, some aspects of this. I support a demolition review bylaw. I want to make sure we have the right one. And to me, I haven't had time to really review and process and.
Well, one way we could do this is kind of the way we did the
We can-
MBTA, which is we could say, the select board supports the principle of a demolition review bylaw, but we are not taking a specific position on this article
It seems
until.
kinda weak, doesn't
Is
it?
that
Well,
weird?
I
That's
think for
very
this
weak.
one, we
Okay.
either say we'll make a recommendation at town meeting, or we can put it in the motions
Well,
handbook,
but-
or if people want to.
What I don't like about that first option is, I mean, can we straw poll? Like, it's not good form. We've done it before, but it wasn't very good. Like, we put the article in and then we, at the 11th hour, we say we don't support it. That's
Right.
not a good look. I'd like to
Right.
know where we stand, at least informally.
The opposing view to that, David, is
Yeah.
that I was saying tonight, I mean, I'm not, I have some reservations about it. But I think if a board wants to put something forward to the voters, you know, generally, unless I think there's some disaster with it, I think we have a duty to
Okay,
kind of
I
put
can
it to
accept
the
that,
town and
but-
let the town vote.
But then I also say, don't kick the can down the road, like, for us. Like, if we feel that way, if we feel,
You could say. in
if
other
we're
words,
3 to
this-
2 against it, for
Yeah.
example, okay?
Yeah.
We should get that on record as soon as we can. I mean, people need to know
Well,
this. I wouldn't let it sway in the breeze and then we suddenly decide we're not for it.
Well, is it too,
We have a companion duty to make our.
Yeah.
yeah. Is it too, I don't know, weak need on our part to say the select board will not be taking a position on this article?
I'm not ready to
That's
say
too
that.
weak.
I think it's weak.
I think we just, for this, we can
Okay.
just say, article, we could say in the motions handbook or town meeting, because there is another, next meeting, we have the opportunity to get a recommendation in the motions handbook,
But not on the warrant.
not in the warrant.
Yeah.
I mean, can we take a straw poll now or not?
I want to see the final bylaw language.
Means what? I mean, it's, okay, but what are you gonna learn that you don't know today?
Well, I'd want to know like what the building commissioner, if that's all been sorted out and they support it now versus have concerns about it,
That would make you support it if the building commissioner supports it?
that would make me more inclined to support it. And that would it put me over the top? I don't know. But I don't know. If people are, what do people think? Christine? Barney?
I'm not in support of it. And I'll give my justification while
Yep.
Barney thinks of her wording. I just feel like there's an awful lot of parties in this town who want to have dibs on all of our property. We've got the bylaw that didn't make it onto the special town meeting that's coming up in the spring with Conscom is going to have an awful lot of say over. Travis, you were going to say something?
I'm not.
And then
gonna
you've got
interrupt
the
you.
HC saying they want a 12-month, waiting period, and it feels like an awful lot of stuff has not been said in terms of disclosure. I'm not in favor of it. And I don't think waiting around is gonna sway me, by the way.
Okay, so it's made me rethink even, should we should we have not put it on the warrant?
The prudent, I take your point that if a board wants it, we have some, but there's also the shooting at the king and missing theory, right?
Right.
If it goes down, it'll be a long time before it comes back. I'm not
Well-
opposed to a well-thought. I read all the City in the Woods and things, but the fact is, there are no set really, they've done a better job now, but
They
there's
have.
really no set criteria. This idea of historical context and an architect of historical significance, like, that's not quantitative. And it is, to quote Eric Adams, it's sticks and bricks, right? At the end of the day, it's sticks and bricks. It's 50 years ago versus, yes, 200 years ago, okay, but, we are kind of over legislating, and the fact that other towns have overwhelmed, a lot of towns have chosen it is not a compelling argument in my opinion. So, I'm not, like, what's the word, like, emotionally against it, like, it's not like it's a freedom of property issue with me, like, it's just not thought through enough. It needs to be much more, to be effective and to be accepted, I think it should be much more prescriptive and clear. And maybe they just have to bite the bullet and find some funding to assess, or anybody that raises their
Well-
hand gets an assessment of whether they qualify or don't qualify. Or there has to be other things besides just you decide to pull a permit and then you go into this like weird process. So all of which is to say to me, as someone who has a fairly significant amount of legislative experience in town,
Yeah.
like, I know it's a hard lesson, but you're not ready. I know you think you're ready, but you're not ready. That's really my point.
Well, the other thing is, and I wish I'd asked them about this, because I had talked to
They're
Chrissy
still here.
about it.
Still here.
Oh, they're still on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, bring them on.
Yeah, great, Ben and Chrissy, the thing I forgot to ask, which is something that I
Maybe they're not.
think
No,
really
they're
would
not.
make
No, they're
sense
not.
to do first.
They're not
Oh,
here.
they're
Never
not here.
mind.
Okay, is
They were.
the historical inventory. Right, I mean, that would
That's
make
what
a.
David just.
That's
Well,
what David's
well,
saying,
that's
yeah.
what but I'm saying, I
It's
didn't have a
right.
chance to ask them why, because I
It's
did
expensive
make a
is why
case
it-
for, yeah, but it's a.
I know,
it's
no,
a
I know,
valid
I'm
CPA
supporting you,
project,
I
so-
agree with you, that's right.
And that's what a
That's a
number
very
of
good
other
point,
towns
CPA
that I
could-
looked
yeah.
at, that's what they did first.
So maybe that would be, that would be good then. That would be okay, because then you kind of know.
Do you want me to text Ben to give that?
Yeah.
Well, so you guys have been on the select board longer with regard to not putting something, choosing not to put something on the warrant.
Right.
We've asked about the readiness, and then they are like, no, and, last town meeting, they wanted to put it on the warrant. We pushed them to this town meeting, they wanna put it on the warrant. So they're saying they're ready. And again, to Travis's point, like, they're doing the work. What is the philosophy? If we don't agree with a warrant, we don't create an article, we don't put it on the warrant?
It's not philosophical, I just said. It's not, we don't like it, like, we're opposed to the theory of it. It's, we don't think like, there's a standard and
When
you
do
haven't met it
think
yet.
They're ready then, David?
I think they're ready,
Like,
David.
how
They've
do you
done as
know?
much.
Like,
I mean, it would be
All right.
awesome if they had this list of,
So you're- Just to be clear, you're opposed to the article, but you're in favor of including it at special
Yes, I
town
am.
meeting.
That's
Okay.
correct. Because I think they're done. I think they've actually done a lot of work.
Okay.
It's just a lot of people making dibs on our property.
And I don't think it's gonna evolve much between now and,
No, it won't. That's why I'm
No.
challenging you in your
can't,
position.
right, right.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, okay,
fair enough.
look, if we decide for the reason that Travis articulated that we owe them the article,
Opportunity to present
then
it.
okay, I'll go with that.
Yeah.
But I'm saying if three of us, and I think there's two already, do not support the article, we should get that out in the book early on. It should be a known thing. We shouldn't waffle on that.
I'm not supportive of it, so there are
So
three.
there you go. So now the question is, do we want to put an article out that we don't support? Maybe we do. It's okay. It's okay to do that. But
Maybe they have the votes. They seem to think they've got and there's a strong contingency in town who believes in the historical nature of things. I do not support it.
right.
Well, I believe it's an important thing for a town, particularly like ours, where we do have a lot of history, that we ought to be protecting, the historic both structures and the, associated history of what's happened in Carlisle, but I don't think, if, let's say it's on the warrant and it gets voted down, then they could decide, the commission could put in for doing this historic inventory, and the town meeting would have to approve that next spring.
We wouldn't have a demo bylaw though next spring.
No,
Would not be.
no, they do that, well, I could try again, but that's where I would not advise.
But did
it.
you,
But,
so this is the first that maybe I didn't pay attention to it, that I heard that CPA could
Mhm.
fund this. Is this the first you've said it, or is it you've been saying it all
No,
along?
we communicated.
And what has been their reaction to that?
Well, that's a good idea, but we're really concerned, we really want to get something in place now that prohibits demolition without this review.
Hmm.
And I provided that feedback as well, and do you put it in the bylaw, like, in other towns, I sent them that as well, neighboring towns, how significant is defined
Right,
and
right, yeah, right.
how they
I know that part. I know.
registers and stuff, and that wasn't active.
Oh, there's Chrissy.
All right,
And Ben.
is she it?
Yeah.
Both of them.
Okay, so Chrissy, we're going through the warrant, and we had voted to include the three articles, a special town meeting. Right now, we're discussing, select board taking a position on the, demo review bylaw. And I think right now, we have at least 3 that are opposed to the bylaw, and that's where we're at.
Okay.
I don't know if someone wants to articulate the kind of core reasons.
Okay, well, I think, the core reasons for being, well,
Yeah.
the debate, Chrissy, is, do we put something, we don't believe the select board should block a warrant article just because we don't support it. So we should give boards like your board, who have worked hard, the opportunity to present it to the town. We shouldn't stand in the way of that. But if we don't, as a select board, support it, we should make that known early, because that's a piece of information that you and others need to know. The reason, though, at least for me personally, that I'm against it is not because I'm philosophically against it. It's because I still don't think you're ready, even with the changes. And I know that there's a rush to say we've got to do it before these houses get demoed. But you heard it from, maybe you didn't, but we heard it from the fire station Tecton guy. The building climate is not robust right now. I don't think, maybe there are some houses that are at risk, but by and large, a delay to get it more properly structured, in my opinion, would serve both you and the town better. And Barney, you want to ask your question about
Well,
CPA?
yeah, I forgot to ask you and Ben about the, doing the historical inventory, and putting in a, application for CPA funds to do that inventory, before, putting this bylaw on the warrant, so that you actually had the data that said these are the historic properties, and then you craft the bylaw to address the inventory.
Sure. Can I go back to David's point for just a minute? David, can you just elaborate a bit on why you don't think the bylaw is ready?
Well, because I think you've done a good job at tightening up some of the things, like the date and the checklist that I read, but the terms are still pretty qualitative, like an architect of historical significance, a neighborhood of historical significance, some other things like that. So, if you're fooling around, I mean, not to be too blunt about it, but you're sort of fooling around with many people's single largest asset. And if we're gonna do that, and we have reasons why that might be a good idea, but if we're going to do that, I think we need real clarity of process, real quantitative, not qualitative, criteria against which one makes that decision. And I still feel like, there were some of the questions in the Q&A, and I was not in a good reception spot, so I didn't weigh in with my own set of questions. But, I mean, there are a lot of questions still. I mean, for example, when Alan Lewis was standing here in the little, what was it, the forum, whatever we had, you know, he said, well, everybody with a house before 1970, I mean, we didn't know that at the time, should just pull a building permit on day 2. Just immediately pull a building permit to force the process of their house so that they would know. You know, these are the kind of things that I believe need to be addressed and buttoned down in language that you just aren't there yet. And I really like the idea, and I hadn't connected it previously, putting CPA funds to work to get a real list of the houses that, whether they're in the neighborhood, whatever the criteria, these houses have, like the historical register. You know it going in that that house is gonna have restrictions on it.
Okay, I'm gonna speak quickly to the point about the language. So the language for the determination of historical significance, is that what you're asking about for specificity?
I mean, that was, now I have to go read, you know, line by line, but I think, yes, the historical significance and/or the architect significance and/or its place in the neighborhood, I mean, it's a lot of qualitative criteria that you're alluding to that your board would use to determine whether an applicant can or cannot do a certain project.
It gives a lot of leeway to the board.
Yeah, right.
At this point. I also think that the age of the structure, I really do appreciate the change to 1970 from, 50 years from a rolling thing. I think that that's a good, step, but I'm just not convinced that, I think, like, you could do a range, and I think I mentioned this at that forum, where if you said every house from that was a witness house to the revolution, that was here in the 1700s, I think you'd have a lot of support within the town. But as you move that age, closer to, modern times, and then 50 years, or essentially, 5 years now, I think you start to lose some of that support, and we won't know until you go to town meeting and find that out. But I just think that those are some of the things that maybe there should have been more. And I guess you tried your outreach, you haven't gotten that feedback. But again, then tonight we were talking, and I asked the question about the 5-year time period, and that was the response. I think was that was eliminated today, right? Or when was that eliminated? Because it was in our thing, but Ben said, no, that's not going to be in there. Was that just eliminated today?
The non-transferable.
The non-transferable piece, yes.
Yeah, was that eliminated during a meeting? Did the historical committee vote on that removal? Or was that just done today by the drafter and not reviewed by the historic commission?
So that will be reviewed with the commission on the 15th.
Okay.
But that was discussed. We discussed this with the commission back on the 2nd. And we'll be reviewing that again with them on the 15th. But that was struck today.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well, again, I just think that those are the types of things that leading up to a town meeting, you should kind of have this thing so, like, much tighter bound so that it can go out in that form, because in some sense, until it's voted on by the historic commission saying this is what we're doing, then, you can't, get it out to everyone. I guess you still can in a unfinished form. But it just leads to this process where, and I think that's what David was trying to articulate too, is just, this is a process when you put a bylaw forward, and believe me, I know firsthand because I did the TA bylaw, and it had its own messiness.
Scars to prove it.
And it takes a lot of effort, and I think you put in effort. I'm not saying you haven't, but I just think it's probably hasn't gelled yet. But as I said in the meeting earlier, I'm supportive of, if you've done this effort and you want to go to the town meeting, I'm not going to hold that up. But I am coming out and saying I'm not as in support, because I just don't think it is. I think some of these things need to be better vetted.
This is the way they would determine
Okay.
Is there anyone else?
historical
Yeah, maybe.
significance.
Please, go ahead, Chrissy.
No, I just was wondering if you have to take a position this evening. I believe you were saying that you were going to take a position for MBTA on the 21st.
Well, we discussed that because it's currently in draft, and I think the comment was from some of the other members of based on the changes in the draft and any other additional changes, they don't support it, and they won't support it. And so we should, to David's point, if the select board isn't going to be in support of the article, we should get that out sooner rather than later.
I think Chrissy was asking about MBTA. We
Well, no,
actually
we-
took a position on that tonight.
Yeah, we did take a position on we took a position on the other two articles tonight.
Okay, no, that's fair. I just didn't know if there was any requirement that you voted on
There's
it
no
tonight.
requirement, it's
There's no
just the
requirement.
deadline to get in the warrant book.
And we don't meet again.
That's what precipitated this discussion, too, is should we take a position on this? And there were mixed views on the select board, whether we should, take that position to, help or potentially harm how this moves forward. And I think the select board may be coming out towards taking a position tonight on this. And we haven't formally
Yeah.
voted yet, but.
Right.
Okay. I mean, again, if we can help with any other questions at the moment, I just want to go back one more time to David's point. I think the language about the historical significance is pretty much verbatim. The
Yeah, I
criteria.
saw that, actually.
Okay.
Barney pointed that out to me, so that one and 1970 are now, quantitative, let's say, or they're not ambiguous. But then all the other, I guess, going by your little, well, the checklist and the bylaw don't 100% line up, but I'll go to the checklist just because it's easier to read. So 1970, bingo, historical events, yes. But then the next, item 3, 4, 5, and 6 are contextual. They're ambiguous to the homeowner. So, I
So,
guess I'm not
part of-
against you using those criteria, but I would go back to Barney's proposal that CPA funding be used to go do that work and go pick the houses that would count towards that.
David, I don't know if you heard the comment about the addition of the determination for applicability prior to anybody looking to submit an application for demolition. That was something that was recently added into the bylaw
5-year
It's in
thing.
blue.
to help
yeah.
people plan.
Yeah.
This one, yeah, where you can go in advance and
Right,
find
but,
out.
right, so you can go in advance, but
Correct.
so you have to do it. But then, okay, but then again, that's another question. So I go in advance and I get a determination that my house is of historical significance. Now I'm pretty much stuck, right? Of what I can do.
Yeah, you didn't buy the house with that understanding.
Yeah.
And that does change things.
But, I mean, that would be the case no matter what, even if they did the checklist. So, no, that's a fair point. It's a fair point.
Can I ask a question just for Ben and Chrissy? If the select board were to vote to oppose the article, or not recommend the article, does that color your view on if you would proceed to special town meeting with it?
Well, certainly we would love the select board's support. But I think we've also heard a lot of positive responses from the community as well. And we don't want to dismiss those positive responses that we have heard at this point. I think, I don't know, Chrissy, jump in, but I think talking with the commission to make a final determination on this would be needed.
Yeah, I agree. I also think Ben brings up a great point. We have gotten really good feedback at this point through the survey specifically, that I would say
Let her
is,
rip.
you know, it's not a no vote from people. I think that there are a lot of people in town that are in support of this. I will also say that this is not something that's reinventing the wheel. This is language that pretty much every surrounding town has in place. Most of the surrounding towns have, you know, even have maybe gone through it with less of a fine tooth comb at this point. And that, you know, Carlisle is sort of the outlier at this point. And I respect that that is potentially where the town would like to be, but I think it would be amiss not to hear a vote at town meeting. But I think, again, as Ben said, that this is also something that we need to discuss with the commission.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
Go for it. I'm
In
convinced.
terms of, yeah, in terms of including it in the warrant, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So do we want to take a position on it as a select board at this meeting?
There's no fiscal impact, correct? Negligible,
Negligible.
Yeah, I don't.
Not calculable.
right.
Maybe not negligible if you can't build new big mansions.
I mean,
Generate a lot more.
I would
real
fall
We've
back on
also actually seen some data points that show that historic preservation has a good financial benefit for the town.
Yeah, you're restricting
There's
supply.
no
Right.
like clear spreadsheet.
Right.
But it's not a financial issue.
No.
no, it's not a financial.
Cultural issue.
But I'm just trying to, you know, Barney had previously categorized it as weak need. I don't think it's weak need to not take a position. You could just say, everyone vote their conscience. There's no,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no,
there's no impact
or
to the
we
town
could,
finances or policy or, policy, yes.
I mean, you could say.
part,
that way.
and there's tonight, and the point I'm making is, I was making earlier is, I agree with David's point, we need to get our positions out as soon as possible. The unknown questions for me, is the bylaw gonna change very much? No. I don't know what the recommendation from
Building commission.
the building commission is, or the relevant boards, and so lacking that information,
You know, if it's on the warrant or the
Well-
handout, it probably doesn't make that much difference, but.
Well, let me sort of look at it from the other side, which is, if this is a bylaw that we feel residents should determine whether or not we're gonna have it or not, that us taking a position now that's against it makes that harder for residents to hear it and decide for themselves. And part of this for me is that, you know, I would, that's why I keep pushing this historic inventory, because I'd feel a lot more comfortable based on on a group of people that really understand all of this and are experts in the field, you know, doing that survey in our town and saying, yes, these are historic structures, you know, that deserve preserving, then I would be fully supportive. The problem for me is that this, you know, this is, the cutoff of 1970 is somewhat arbitrary.
it's reactionary.
Right, and it's also, until tonight, I didn't realize that there was some discussion about like a neighborhood that had been built since before 1970, being considered a historic part of the Carlisle culture, and so it could, you know, it could qualify as historic. And that is really a whole new, that's a whole
Well,
new
there's a
field.
litigation aspect
that-
too, right? I mean, the town could
Yeah.
get sued
Yeah,
Right.
so,
for imposing something that is considered unreasonable by the homeowner. As Christine points out, people bought houses without that understanding. So there is a potential financial impact, a negative financial impact, but.
And for me, there's a burden of proof in terms of enacting a new bylaw. Like it's not like, to me, that you have to, there's a lot of unknowns in here. I don't quite
Well,
grasp
it's
all the
good. I mean,
implications, and so you need to have.
The age cutoff is good, right? In other words, if your house is
But I don't know if
older
it's the
than
right
that-
age. I don't,
No, whether it's the right or wrong, if this were the bylaw, and you have a house that was built in the 60s, you know you have to go in front. There's no ambiguity about that, right?
But my point is, as a voter, as a resident,
Yeah.
I support the idea of a demo bylaw. I don't, like, Travis is raising points that I haven't thought of. You're raising points. There's a lot in here that I don't know all the implications of, right or wrong, good or bad. And I won't vote in favor of a new bylaw unless I fully
Right,
understand.
okay, so that's a very good point. So one strain says, you know, a group that's committed to it would like to propose a bylaw, and, you know, that we as the gatekeepers of the bylaws should not be unduly restrictive about that. We should be open to people wanting to present things if they do so in a thoughtful manner, and nobody would say they haven't done it in a thoughtful
Right.
manner. Okay. The second thing is, you know, could such a bylaw create some unknown havoc in our town? And therefore, if we could either block it, I mean, if it was a really terrible, like if somebody said, bylaw that, you know, no Chinese can live in Carlisle, like, okay, you know, it's constitutionally wrong, like, we wouldn't let that bylaw go. But these are things that may create some confusion and litigation and who knows what. So knowing that, I go back to more maybe the select board's reason for making its opinion known. We need to tell the town looks to us for certain aspects. We need to let them know what the other implications are of doing this if we don't think it's ready. I'm not sure how, but I mean, I don't think we can just say, okay, everybody choose for yourselves. I mean, sure, why have a select board? Just everybody choose for themselves, right?
What's your MBTA position?
Well, I'm for compliance. I'm for compliance.
All right.
That's
So it's getting late.
Yeah.
Do we want to take a position on this article
Maybe,
tonight?
maybe not.
Or do we want to take a position on our next meeting on the 21st, in which case it would be in the motions handbook, correct?
Yeah, I'm okay.
And in that time, maybe we can aggregate some of our questions and concerns, get them to Historical Commission, and at least give them a chance to respond, and get some of these other opinions
Right.
in.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. And I would say, and I've told you this, Chrissy, I think we told you this maybe a time or two ago, that, I mean, Wayne, when we think about how to organize collateral material, Wayne's suggestion was, you know, find the most articulate people you can who are against your motion, and listen to them and prepare your arguments against that. And so I would say they should do that. Right. So I'm okay voting it in and then leaving it at that.
Okay. So for the warrant, do we,
We really did vote the warrant, didn't
Do we
we?
want-
We've already voted the warrant.
but I mean, for in the warrant, we're just gonna say we'll make a recommendation at town meeting?
No, we're gonna vote next week. We're gonna have
Okay.
our next meeting.
No, but we have to put, so we won't put anything in we have to put.
We could
do
say
Well, you can leave it that way. If it's early,
Yeah.
it's early, right?
Yep. That's what I mean. We're going with that language.
We'll make a recommendation
Supports
on
the
the article
passage of a.
No.
at town meeting,
We'll make
or
a-
we'll make a recommendation.
Or remove it completely from the warrant. You can remove that language completely.
Well, you can
You
say.
mean just not put anything in there from the select board for now?
Yeah, you could delete it. Or
Delete the whole
Just say we'll
thing.
present it. Just leave it, I think we just leave it as it
Well, then
is.
why were you saying that we vote next time?
You
about
can
it?
put it
Well,
in.
no, that's
early.
different than saying the select board does not support this article with a
Not-
vote.
Oh.
Do you know, this is just saying we'll make a recommendation.
This is what gets printed, right?
Yeah.
Make a recommendation at town meeting
Next
or,
meeting, it could still be printed if we.
In the,
He
wa-
meant
in the
in the
motions.
The
handout.
motions, oh, not the
Motions
warrant.
well, you could
handout.
say in the motions
Yeah.
handbook or at town meeting.
Warrant,
Yeah.
okay, got it.
And that people will receive when?
Motions at town meeting.
Yeah.
And we'll have the position at our next meeting and we'll socialize it. I
Sure,
mean,
okay,
and
fair
I do
enough.
think we should take a position.
Okay, all right, good. Got it.
All right. All right, we're
Well,
running
thank
for-
you, Chrissy and Ben.
Yep, thank you for.
Thank you.
Rejoining.
Thanks, appreciate it. All right, the next piece of the puzzle is to sign the special town meeting and special election warrants, correct?
Yes.
Is there any adjustment needed to what's in the packet?
Not for the election warrant, and what you're signing is the warrant as presented tonight.
Ah, so this has to be moved,
Yes.
correct?
Yep.
Okay. Shall I do that?
Yep,
Okay.
thank you.
I move to approve the special town election warrant with ballot questions for the special town election scheduled for November 13th, 2025, in the Clark Room of Town Hall, 66 Westford Street, Carlisle, Mass. 01741. Can we do both of them together?
What's the second?
Well,
Yep.
oh, have we already approved this?
You already approved the warrant, you just need to approve the election.
Okay, I just didn't get all
both
that great
warrants.
language there, but, okay.
So the first motion was made. Does someone want to second it?
Second.
Second.
Let's do any discussion. We'll do a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And do you want to make the second motion?
Yeah, do you want us to do this second one as well, Ryan?
The Corey one?
This is approving the entire warrant, right? So I move to approve the warrant for the special town meeting scheduled for November 2nd, 2025 in the Corey Auditorium, Cafe, and Gymnasium of the Carlisle Public School, 83 School Street, Carlisle, Mass. 01741,
As presented tonight.
As presented tonight.
as presented tonight.
Those are the article number changes.
Yeah. Do we have to add Benfield in here? Since you've got the auditorium, cafe, and gym? Cafe.
Cafe.
You want to put cafeteria? People won't look at cafe and say, oh, it's
Now
Starbucks
Starbucks.
reopened?
We've really spruced things up around here.
I think we're good.
Okay. So we need a second for that
Second?
one.
Anyone's,
can't
no, I'm
second-
asking
oh.
for a second.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right,
I just gotta give you a quick, so what we mean by legal and administrative changes, which you did approve. I believe that a demolition review bylaw is a general bylaw, and this is written to say it's a zoning bylaw. So I have to check that with council, because if it was zoning, it would be 2/3. So I'm like 95% sure it's general.
Okay.
So we would just make that
Definitely
change.
getting to the
You're
day.
signing that, it doesn't have any
It's what?
substantive
It's
change to the
general?
article.
Okay.
Showing you what we might do with it.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right, the next agenda item was to set the 2026 annual town meeting date.
Yes,
Um,
we should do that. Do we have a proposed date?
The
Yeah,
proposed,
May 18th.
which is a Sunday, if we want to continue with that.
I mean, we,
No.
we failed at running some traps last time.
It's Monday.
Oh, it's Monday?
We-
18th is Monday.
We are recommending a range of dates.
Oh, sorry.
from May 17th to May 19th, to allow you to either do a Sunday or a Monday, but to reserve those 3 days.
Right.
So is that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday?
Okay.
Okay, but we did a
So this-
poor job last time of fully vetting conflicts like college graduations, which wasn't on my radar screen, but it is, I mean,
So the
have
vetting-
we done a full calendar vetting of
You
all
asked that.
conflicts here?
So the vetting we did here was that college
I
is
got one.
traditionally the last
Okay,
in May, so is Memorial Day.
and the high schools are,
June,
June.
it's 2 weeks later.
right, and
Mother's Day is the
Mother's
week
Day is the
before.
10th.
it's the week before, it's not that Sunday.
No, it's the week before. But the problem is, every other weekend, you start to get
Okay.
blocked out.
Then you've done your due diligence, all right, okay.
And-
Process of elimination.
And we wanted to say the range being 17, 18, 19?
Yes.
Okay.
We're good.
But I would say, I think we spoke, let me
We'll see
just,
what's on the agenda.
Yeah?
I believe we brought this up at a point when
You-
town meeting committee came here. There's some
He's at Fort Drum.
countervailing opinion that you shouldn't actually do it in the nice weather,
On a Sunday afternoon?
like a May.
But
Go back
that's
to
in
the rainy,
afternoon. Go back
crappy-
to Monday night, you're saying? Or
No, I'm
change the
saying
date?
April.
Oh, April.
We-
Wow,
I mean,
even
we talked about that
earlier.
at some
David,
point.
that's a good point. So what we're trying to do is have a chance to get the fire station design
Ah,
as
so we
far along
want
as
to,
possible.
okay.
However, I did discuss this with the OPM and the architect.
Yeah,
And it is unlikely that we bid this project for town meeting. So
it wouldn't make it anyways, what you're saying.
but the more time, the better for a more accurate cost estimate.
I don't mind it, I'm just saying, when we, the town meeting study committee, as we dive into the data and the reasons why people do or don't show up, it's pretty nice out in late May and people have things to do, that's all. And if it's a Sunday, our feeling in retrospect was crappier weather is better. That's all.
It's gonna rain cats and dogs.
Well, and it's a late school break this year. It's like the 20 to 20,
Okay.
so there's like 2 weekends in the back half of April
Okay.
that are not good.
Yeah,
So it's
not
like,
very good. And the first, beginning of May is.
Mother's Day is the 10th, so then.
No, there's the first weekend in
third or
May.
whatever then.
but how different is the weather gonna be?
I don't
Now we're getting into like farmers
You know, I
market.
don't, I'm okay with it, I'm just pointing out that that's.
We had a good turnout at this same time
Yeah.
frame
Last
last
Sunday.
year, and I didn't
Yeah.
hear,
It won't even go
I didn't
to
hear
that
any
meeting. It'll
I'm
go
fine.
to the
It's okay.
no more
I'm okay
complaints
with
than
it.
normal.
Don't we
Okay.
want to have
All
it?
right,
wanna
do you want me
make
to
a motion?
move this? I move that we set the date of the 2026 annual town meeting to fall in the range of May 17, 18, or 19, 2026.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great. All right, we are only 55 minutes behind. We can blame the chair.
Good night,
But-
Julie.
So looking at the rest of the meeting, do we want to spend a few minutes on the residency policy?
No, we can punt that for next
Okay.
time.
I have some comments, but I think we can,
Yeah.
they're mostly related to Gretchen's feedback and making sure we have clear criteria.
Sure.
Otherwise, I think it's,
Bring it on.
yeah,
Did-
we'll see if we can move on to the next meeting.
Right.
'cause I
I,
think-
I say punt it. It's not, you know, I was not expecting as many comments as I got from Gretchen, which they were all
Okay.
value add, so I have no problem with that.
All right.
And she's included it in here with all the sausage making off to the side and everything, which is awesome.
But there's some sausage
Yeah.
being made, so
So we're not ready
we
to
should.
do this.
So I have-
So maybe maybe
No,
you
this is
should, I
residency
don't know if you
requirement.
had.
We'll clean it up.
Yeah, decide
we'll
which ones are
circulate it
still,
again.
yeah.
But I have one comment for you that I didn't want to make in the email, obviously, is schools spent a lot of time determining residency for the purpose of children.
Yep.
Yeah.
Some of this, I would leave schools out of this because it's
So
a
just
whole
leave it
thing.
out.
I think
I
we
just,
just-
I
It's
just
a whole
point them
thing.
to the school's policy, but yes.
I think
Yeah.
our policy should just relate to our
Right,
appointment.
Got it.
because the kids don't, it's different, right? Parents
Yeah,
and
yeah.
step-parents and foster parents, and you get in a whole mishmash, and I wouldn't go
Okay.
there.
Let's do a cycle with Gretchen's feedback, and then we'll revisit it in all the time we have when we're sitting around going, what do we
Yes.
talk about tonight?
Right.
After special town meeting, or maybe prior to
Oh.
the
School.
All right,
Yeah.
well, like
Could be.
the 21st, we just have,
As David said, we could be out in an hour.
um,
ETA.
we're gonna move on to the TA report. So Ryan, the floor is yours.
All right, great. Next, this is my town administrator report for October 7th. I'm gonna get that right this time. So the next town administrator coffee hour will be Tuesday after the holiday, October 14th at Clark Farm Market. Looking for residents who are looking to talk about town meeting issues, different logistics, and anything else that's going on in town. However, the majority of my time has been spent on town meetings, so I expect it to be mostly that. In terms of HR reports and appointments, we have selected a finalist for our Finance and Human Resources Assistant position. As you remember, we filled this and then it was immediately vacant. This is an important position as it frees up a lot of our finance and HR staff to do other things. So we're excited. We anticipate this person to start on October 20th, and we will appoint them in between the meetings and then bring you that name at your next meeting. We did have an offer in place for a police officer, but it was not a successful negotiation. We're just showing you that we don't always take every offer and every position. We have ranges, and we try to maintain fiscal responsibility. So we will send that back out to bid, as they say, and interview some more candidates. And we're still recruiting heavily for van drivers. If anybody knows anybody who wants to drive a van and is good at it, we'd be happy to talk to them. For department updates and information, thanks to our safety committee volunteers, we have been awarded a $500,000 grant for the Connected Carlisle project. This adds to the shared
Fantastic.
services grant and would extend sidewalks from School Street to Stern Street, which I know you all know is the Kimball Farms ice cream stand. So you can get all your exercise and then have some ice cream. The last piece for this is we applied for a LEAP grant, which is a new grant for rural communities, which would allow us to pay for some of the design. The project is more than we have in terms of grant funding, so we want to see if this design grant will go through, and then we will bring it to you for your consideration on how much scope to do and what the cost would be and the impacts on Chapter 90 and other capital funds. Attached to this report is our annual OPEB, other post-employment benefits report. This was reviewed by the finance team and my working group, which David is a part of, and our financial consultants. We performed strongly this year and exceeded expectations and are now approximately 30% funded. This is better than the statewide average of 5.9% funded and is approaching the group of 40% funded communities, which there are only 15 in Massachusetts. So just proving that we're doing well with OPEB. We're not in that top 15, but we are well ahead of the state average with the spending that we have.
And we also have the region, which is
Even better than.
even better.
Concord's one of those 15. And
But that's part of our obligation.
Right.
for the Audubon Lane engineering study, this is finalized. I went through it today with Nitch and Jim Hall. We're going to present you two options and the findings of that report for addressing the residents' concern who came in here during your community feedback forum. So that is one thing that is on our plate besides town meeting stuff. A really important update on the cranberry bog. So Megan and the Conservation Commission are working to expedite the repair project. As many of you know, it's been closed because of sinkholes. We did some investigation with an engineer and found that there's significant burrowing on the dam to include beavers and other rodents. So we closed the pathways. We have quoted out emergency repairs, which would be taking concrete and sand and filling those holes. And we're also removing the beaver lodge and the beaver. And then expediting the first phase of the repair project for the Cranberry Bog Dam, which is not informed by the hydrology studies, to get that out to bid. And then once the hydrology study is finalized, the second phase of the repair, as you remember, was a well talked about topic not so long ago. It was the MBTA communities before the MBTA communities. Then the commission is going to consider all of these things. So I'm just keeping you up to speed on significant conversations that are happening with the dam with your Conservation Commission. We talked tonight about the annual town meeting date, and you took our recommendation for May 17th and 19th for the annual town meeting. For select board scheduling, and you received this from your chair, and based off your feedback and giving you a tiny bit of a break, there's only one meeting in November scheduled right now, November 18th, and we've adjusted your December schedule for the holidays on the 1st and 3rd Tuesdays, assuming there's no additional feedback. This allows us to continue to meet key reporting dates like your tax classification hearing and the budget draft without overloading you based on a heavy town meeting season.
There's no 11th and there's no 25th.
Correct. I'm also recommending that Town Hall be closed on December 24th, 26th, and January 2nd. These are 2 half-days and a full day for 2 holiday days. We have assessed that there would not be enough staff here to provide adequate services on those dates, nor would we have the foot traffic to justify it. So we're recommending this as the select board's holiday gift. Usually you give a day or something, so this was what we're recommending to you for this year.
Do we need to vote on that, Ryan? Or
You just need to say that you're not going to be mad at me for doing it.
I think I've already given that feedback.
Letting you know we're doing it, and if you have an issue, we can certainly talk about it.
Okay.
Arm wrestle.
Our elevator modernization project is out to bid. We've already received feedback on filed sub bids. We're still right on budget. The final bids are due on the 17th, and we'll make sure to let you know promptly and start that project promptly once we can. We have scheduled dates for the brick building HVAC installation with Boston Mechanical, who won the bid for that project, and they're working closely with our facilities department, which is good. The all bathroom renovation, IFB is out for bid currently and will be considered at the end of the month. And that's important because of some of the flooding, as you remember, which seems like a long time ago, but it was only a couple weeks. The Cemetery Commission is working great on the mapping for Sims and other cemetery investigations, so that's ongoing. And I drove all of the supplemental road maintenance that happened. Berry Corner Lane is milled. Pheasant Hill Lane is milled and graded, just waiting for binder coats on all of those. We're just waiting for the top coats. And then Acton Street will be the next mill and fill, as they say. That'll happen in the next 2 weeks, so those will be finalized. We've gotten signs and communicated with the schools to make sure people know that's coming. For CPA projects, the Banta Davis track rehabilitation, as you know, came in under bid and is almost complete. Just finalizing some work there that was being done today, finishing the fence and filling in gravel around the new asphalt. I'm working with the Diamond Park Study Group to finalize contracts. This would give us a design for potential ask on the rehabilitation of Diamond Park. No new information on several of our studies, and we talked about the building projects, the fire station renovation tonight, which you received your revised cost estimate, and that'll be a significant part of our town meeting agenda. While there's no update on the DPW building, you did say that you wanted to include something about the DPW project in your presentation, so that should be a discussion point at your next meeting, on what to discuss there. You know the upcoming topics because we've been discussing them a lot: personnel policies, tax classification hearing, and starting the FY27 budget, which seems like a lot when you're dealing with a special town meeting, but we'll get there, I promise. And then you have to evaluate me on all of this work. We've approved some signs. You'll see them in the Rotary. One I have to talk about tonight, which was in the packet, is
Tim Downing.
Tim Downing's request. So
Right.
he's asking for 4 dates that would allow for 1 week 3 signs in the Rotary, which violates your policy. So we were asking you whether or not you would like to violate your policy and allow 3 signs for that week, or if we're limiting to just 2.
Is that because,
2 others have already been approved.
no, but the idea is he thinks some people won't see the sign if there are only 2 out there?
There's already 2 out there. He wants to add a sign.
We only allow 2 signs in there.
I understand that part, but, he wants to
They're 2
add
different
one
people.
just for that week, just for this, the week of November 3rd. Is that right?
One of the weeks that he wants signs out would create a 3rd sign. So if we either limit when he can go out, his group can go out, not him.
We'd already approved 2 other groups to go out, Barney.
Oh,
It's
that
not
same week.
Yeah.
That same week.
Ah,
And so it's just, you know,
Got it.
We
So
had
it's
to-
allowing them to keep their sign out there even though there are other groups?
Yes.
Well,
The
I
upside
guess it's
is,
more safety, right? I mean, is it
that's the downside is,
fine with the police department or,
it's your call.
yeah.
I don't see it.
I don't see it as a problem.
It's a pretty
I think
small
it's as an
sign, too, the
exception.
one they
Yeah,
have
it's
out there.
18 by 24 or something like
Yeah.
that. So I would move.
Yeah,
Can I make a
support it.
motion?
Yeah, it's
You
right
sure
here.
can.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Yeah, here,
Oh, thank you.
page 40.
Thank you. I move to approve the request of Timothy Downing on behalf of the Concord Carlisle Foundation to place 2 signs around the Rotary the week of November 3rd.
Second.
So he's placing, sorry, quick discussions. He's placing 2 signs or 1 sign?
1 sign, which makes 3 signs because
Okay.
there's 3 groups.
It said 2.
Oh, it says
place 2
2.
signs.
2 in the motion.
Oh, 2, yeah. His 2 signs would add to the other signs that are out there.
So there'll be 5 signs out there?
Yeah, 3 other groups, you mean, or 2 other groups?
All right, so there's 3 spots, 3 islands in the Rotary.
Right,
Yeah.
People put different numbers of signs.
And we can do 2 at each
We
post,
approve 2 organizations at once as long as they don't go crazy.
at each point.
Yeah.
So 6 total signs.
Right.
And he wants to use 2 of those 3 signs. Okay,
So there'd be 3 and 2 of the islands.
okay.
got
I
it.
got it. Okay.
This is why you delegated this. It's tedious. We try
Yeah,
to.
and this is, yeah, okay. That's my discussion point. All right. Do you want to take a vote?
We
Any
need a
further-
second, right?
We had a second.
Oh, we did, okay.
Any further
Great.
discussion? Let's do a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great.
Hey, let me just raise one thing on this, but are we going to put a sign out there before town meeting, like we usually do? To
Yes.
say town meeting is November 2nd?
Yes.
Okay. And that won't be a problem to add yet another sign?
No, we can violate our own policy.
Okay,
And just put his sign behind our sign.
there you go. Okay.
Doesn't say where they're gonna go.
We'll move it around the Rotary so it's not in the Rotary.
Yeah, okay.
Digital billboard, here's
Yeah.
Some staff recognition. No,
85
please
roofing
don't.
signs littered around town.
So I'd like to recognize Jen Gagne for, and I'm just going to read her fellow employees' recognition that was sent to me. So Jen is always willing and ready to step in whenever an issue arises. During the town hall plumbing emergency, she immediately ran to the fire station for towels, helping to contain the water damage. She assisted with employee empowerment event by relocating into another room so a land use meeting could continue uninterrupted. When asked to send a message to group email, something that hadn't been done before, she quickly figured it out, ensuring it was done correctly, and even removed recipients who no longer wished to receive. So these are all examples of how Jen goes above and beyond. This isn't in her job description. She's a team player. She works downstairs, so she's exposed to a lot more issues because people go to the first face, and we're lucky to have her be one of the first faces because of the way she helps our residents and sets a nice warm tone for the delivery of services here. And also, like, they wanted to remain anonymous, so I can't say their names, but there was a group of people who helped clean up the Concord River with other towns. One of the greatest parts working here is that people volunteer this way, so this group was not only on land but sea, in kayaks, cleaning up the river. Just want to recognize them for their efforts. A lot of this stuff gets done without people noticing. It was a lot of people. I said, I'm going to put your names out there, and they said no, and they do it every year, so that's pretty cool. And there's an agenda for you to review, and we put a list of your upcoming meetings in the report as well. And that is my succinct report.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks for catching us up.
Warrant and minutes approval.
Yes.
We had minutes of September 16th, 22nd, and 23rd. Someone want to make a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made, seconded. Any discussion? All in favor of approving those minutes from the 16th, 22nd, and 23rd?
Aye.
Voice vote. Thank you. Okay, this is the secret. Just let us go
Aye.
along. Liaison reports. Does anyone have any mission-critical liaison reports that we haven't covered off on tonight?
If they do, I can't remember.
Okay. Cemetery deeds. We have our very own Gordon Means. So we have a couple deeds. I don't know if we want to make a motion on.
Yeah. Is one of these the correction? Yeah, here.
Oh,
Okay,
sorry,
that's a
these are
different one.
corrections. Do we
Okay.
have anything to
so-
sign?
All right.
I don't. If
Should
it's
we-
not in there, I don't.
Should we do these then, or should we just wait till we sign them?
We can approve them and
Okay.
then sign them
Yeah,
later.
let's
Okay.
do that.
So let's do the motion.
I move to transfer land in the public burial ground at the Green Cemetery, described as follows: deed 857 to William Gordon Means and Lee Means, Lot D 357, graves 1, 2, 3, and 4, and deed 858 to Charles and Barbara Chiappa, Lot D 351, graves 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Okay, so let's do that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We'll do a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now we have one administration.
Yes, so there's
administrative
a correction, you know, it's Gretchen, Gretchen told us about or wrote about
Yep.
the last time. So I move that we accept the return of deed 562 for Lot D 177, graves 1 and 2 from Parkman Howe, made retroactively effective from May 25, 2021.
Second?
Second.
We'll do a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great. And lastly, we'll offer any community input. It's late. No, thank you for staying on, Christina, Eric, Mary Lynn, Ryan. Do we take a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor, voice vote?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you all.
Thank you. Aye.
Excellent.